Welcome back, everyone. Welcome back to another day, another broadcast here on the CranKy Ducklings. I'm, of course, host Live VIP, and with me, I'm joined by the people in the crowd, by the UFC fight. I don't. Welcome, everyone, to our replay broadcast of the HomeStory Cup 24 Galactic Rumble Group A, part number 1. Oh boy, welcome. Of course, this event did occur a couple of weeks ago, I think 2 weeks ago, or just under 2 weeks ago. It was live over on Take DV's channel, and it was at an awful time for Australia. I think it started at like 10 p.m. or something, and it kept going until like 8 a.m. the next day. At the time, we were unfortunately casting at almost the same time as well. We were covering our own events. I think we were casting the Kashim events, if I'm not mistaken, the Kashim friendly show matches, some of the future show matches, and some other events as well. And we ended up missing out on quite a lot of HomeStory Cup. I was able to tune into some of the playoff bracket, but I'm here. I'm excited to delve into the group stage. I did hear a lot of exciting things, not just that, but I also want to cheer for my boy, Dolan. Dolan actually traveled to Germany. Dolan traveled to HomeStory Cup as well. He was able to play. He was able to cast as well. As you know, one of the big things about HomeStory Cup is that they do bring on the players as well to get their insights and have some fun, and to have a more laid-back experience on the casting couch. So yeah, it was. It's always a great thing. HomeStory Cup is always a great, unique event to bring everyone together, and yeah, it's really cool. It's really cool to see that it continues to be a thing. I think the next one is already slated for next year, so you can already mark your calendars. If you happen to be local to the scene, happen to be nearby, then HomeStory Cup's definitely a place to be. But if you did miss out on the group stage, we intend to cover them. We don't intend to cover the playoff bracket. I expect most people tune into the final day to watch like the round of 8 into the semifinals, into the grand final. So we won't touch the playoff bracket, but we will be going over the group stage. Groups A, B, C, and D. And as you can imagine, a lot of matches were had, a lot of games were played. It is round robin, so there's a lot to go over. In fact, we can't even cover one group in one day, as we usually do when it comes to replays. We're going to be covering half of Group A today, the other half tomorrow. I think 12 matches in total. We're covering 6 best of 3s today, and then 6 tomorrow. So yeah, we'll try to keep up, and of course that'll be leading into Friday. And what's on Friday? DreamHack, Bobby. DreamHack Atlanta is on Friday, so we're gonna have 2 days back-to-back of HomeStory Cup replay casts, and then bam, straight into DreamHack. As you mentioned yesterday, if you're curious, we will be casting DreamHack Atlanta Day 1. We're gonna be casting Day 1 here on this channel. We're gonna be covering the open stage of DreamHack, but only Day 1. We won't be covering the playoff bracket or the winners bracket, which is Day 2 and Day 3, respectively. So the main broadcast channels have you covered there. We are at least going to be helping out for the first day, so a lot of exciting stuff. I also have to, I've been adjusting my sleep schedule as well. I think DreamHack Atlanta starts at 2 a.m. here in Australia. 2 a.m. technically Saturday morning, not Friday night. So it's gonna be a great broadcast. I still need to message Yaku. I need to send out a couple of messages to some of the other ducklings to make sure that I have someone with me, and I don't have to go through the trenches alone for DreamHack Atlanta. Hopefully I can have someone else. Hopefully at least Yaku can drop by. I know Yaku, he's a little bit more of a DJ, and he's a little bit more awake at that hour. Asher, he's also a DJ, but he's usually playing League of Legends. Shaking my head. But regardless, we are here. We are looking to dive into a new theme. What I love is that, you know, in recent editions, HomeStory Cup, they have been having themes for their events. I think the last one was like the Lost Beaches of Marsara or something, and they had like a little kiddie pool with ducks. They had some ducks in the pool for HomeStory Cup 23, which was beautiful, by the way. Here they're going for like a WWE like kind of wrestling match sort of vibe. I'm gonna be disappointed because I didn't get to watch all of Day 1 and Day 2. Only little bits here and there. Gonna be very disappointed if they didn't have a ring at the venue and a segment where they had like a couple of the players like duke it out in there for a little bit, or have some fun with it in some way. Because I feel like there's a lot you can do with like the WWE thematic, right? Like you can, you get the caster to jump in, you get the steel chair coming out. I don't know. okay, look, 100% what we would what we would have done, what we've already done. We've already done this actually on the channel when I'm casting with Asher. The idea of this would have been a like you would have needed to have been creative with it, but the idea of like associating builds with like WWE finishing moves that would have been amazing. I don't think they did that, but like I can't remember. I think for us like the A-Rex was like the 619. Like we did it specifically when we were casting Diego, like Kellezer. No, sorry. We did it when we were casting Diego. We did it when we were casting Oliveira, because if you're curious, Oliveira, he named himself after, not WWE, it's a UFC fighter, right? UFC fighter called Oliveira. And that's who he named himself after. Like he's come out and said that. So I remember when he first name changed to Oliveira, Asher and I, we were all over that to an R18 plus extent where we I remember now. I remember like when Oliveira would put people in like the reverse chokehold, and I remember this. This was the VODs are on YouTube. This was like 4 months ago, 6 months ago even. Good times, good times. But like that's the kind of thing that would have been fun. I'm not gonna do that on my own. I'm not. But that's what I would have hoped would have happened live at the event for a rumble, a galactic rumble. Just saying, just have fun with it, Bobby. Have fun with it. Regardless, we have 6 best of threes ahead of us, and we will be diving into this. 23 was Music Festival theme. 22 was Little Ducks. That's it. Really? Sure. Okay. I'll take your word for it. The last one we cast was with the Little Ducks. So I guess maybe we missed 23, and maybe we only covered 22. It was the one where they had like a little magnet fishing rod, and they would like fish for the ducklings. It's beautiful. Oh no, yeah, you're right, because sorry, there was in between the one that I'm talking about and this one, there was a HomeStory cup which they specifically said was going to be in Take's house, right, in his apartment. They wanted to go back to their roots, so in between these HomeStory cups they actually had a smaller one, technically a smaller HomeStory cup in Take's current like apartment complex or house or something like that. But yes, that was the one in between. True. We didn't cover the group stage for that because I don't think there was a big group stage. I think. So we didn't cast that one. Yeah. But yeah, from here we are diving on into this again. Welcome everyone in the chat. Welcome Sounder, Mia Micah. The cat of the sea. Welcome me, Micah. Baby Lings as well. Baby Ling. So Wormstick, Jendode. Super Sprain in the chat. Simon Prince. Welcome. Hope you're all having a good day. And we'll be diving on into this as well. Our first series, as you can see here on the screen, is going to be in Group A. Cyril versus DNS. Actually, I should probably switch our scenes over. Bam! We have a lovely spreadsheet. A lovely graphic, quote unquote, here. Shout out to Kura for making this happen. Group A, here we go. These are the matches we're going to be covering tonight. We have Cyril versus DNS, a Laser versus Dolan, Harston versus Fiant, a Laser versus DNS, Harston versus Dolan, and Cyril versus Dolan as well. Oh, here we go. Baby Lings. It was a chatter in the chat. Massive supporter, good friend in the chat. But yeah, from here, these are our 6 matches that are going to be ongoing. We're going to be taking a small break halfway through, so after Harston versus Fiance, we'll take like a 5-minute break, get some water, get some rest, get some snacks, and then bam, right back into it. As a reminder, this is a round robin group stage, which is why you can see them all playing against each other. And again, we're going to be covering half of the group today and the other half tomorrow. So that is our current plan. So you can look forward to the up-and-coming matches. Again, I'm really looking forward to seeing Dolan, of course. He's our boy. He's a fellow CranKy Duckling. Really excited to see, especially against Harston, what kind of builds he has. I do think that Dolan thrives the most in TVP. That is when he can be the most creative and unorthodox and wild. So I do think he has the best chance against a Protoss player. Against Zerg, he's a stifled a little bit more, and he has to rely a little bit more on more orthodox play, which is not a bad thing. But at the same time, you know, I like it when Dolan can spread his wings and swim, Bobby, and swim. Likewise, I'm really excited to cover some Fiant games. Fiant, of course, drops by in the chat every now and then. Big fan of Fiant. He's an up-and-coming European Zerg player, very young, and looking to make a name for himself here. I believe this is his 2nd HomeStory Cup. I believe he was there for the Duck edition of the HomeStory Cups, where he was able to compete as well. We also casted him. We were able to cast him during that. So yeah, looking forward to Fiant. When it comes to the high-profile matches as well, eventually here some of the big names are going to be colliding. You know, Cell versus Hearthstone, Laser versus Hearthstone, Cell versus Laser. I do think that the three of them are the players that we're really going to be keeping an eye on. But I believe they're going to be facing off tomorrow in tomorrow's coverage of the group stage. So yeah, look forward to that. Do look forward to that, and look forward to these matches as well. For now, again, we have our ZVP. 23 was indeed festival themed. Yeah, but they had a kiddie pool with the ducks. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Yeah, there you go. The one that takes home was not numbered. 22 was Winter Wonderland. Yes, that's it. That's why I was confused, because I was pretty sure that 23 was the duck one. But yeah, there was technically a HomeStory Cup in between 23 and 24, which was the Take Apartment one. That's the one that I actually didn't get to watch much of that, actually. It was called Real HomeStory Cup, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, it was a lot smaller. That's why it was much smaller. Only 2 groups and only like 16 players or something. Yeah, I might. Would it be worth casting that? That was back in September. But regardless. Thank you for clearing that up. Winter Wonderland. Yeah. We covered that as well. We covered the Winter Wonderland. But for now, bam, we're here with the Galactic Rumble, and we're diving into game number 1. Gonna be on Hardland. Let us go. Again, these games already did transpire, so no predictions in the chats, no gambas tonight, but it's okay. You can save your gamba for later. It's all good. Try to keep it inside you. As we are getting into game number 1, and spawning in the bottom right hand corner of Hardland, we have the Finnish Zerg player, the blue Zerg representing Team Basilisk. It is Cyril. And spawning in the top left-hand corner, we have the French Protoss player, the red Protoss representing the Platinum Heroes. It is DNS. Again, DNS has been one of those rising stars of the year. If you are familiar with the World Team League and with our coverage of WTL, then you would know that DNS really did surprise us in the summer season of WTL. Earlier this year, DNS was the ace player of his team, surprisingly so. DNS, he did kind of retire or take a step back for quite a number of years. He's been competing for a long time, don't get me wrong. But again, he did take a bit of a step back, which is why when he stepped back into the ring, we weren't really expecting much. You know, I was, you know, tentatively excited about what DNS would be bringing to the table, and what he would, or how he would perform in WTL. But coming into World Team League the summer season, I think we were all looking at Goblin, right? We were like, Goblin has always been like the up-and-comer on the Platinum Heroes. You know, we were looking to him to see if he would be able to like shine and thrive, and he was kind of pinned as the ace player coming into the season. And then Goblin kind of underperformed, and DNS overperformed heavily. DNS, he popped off during that season, and even though he went up against some of the big names like Maru or like Cyril as well, despite that, he would still have some really close games, and he'd be able to take it to the late game and look really damn strong as well. So DNS really did surprise us, and quickly became someone that I'm keeping my eye on from here on forward. Like, really did impress us in the summer season, leading into the winter season, of course, as well. Currently in the winter season, DNS is kind of overshadowed by Firefly. Of course, the Platinum Heroes, they recently picked up Firefly at the start of WTL Winter, and he now stepped up as the ace player instead, I would say. But DNS is like, you know, a solid companion and to Firefly to kind of really round out the team of the Platinum Heroes. And yeah, I'm excited to see him here and now in HomeStory Cup as well. Again, DNS has become much more active in this recent year of StarCraft, and yeah, has, I would say, proven himself. He's really cemented himself amongst the middle of the pack when it comes to Protoss players in Europe. But we're really waiting for him to break into that upper echelon. You know, when I think of the top Protoss players in Europe, I think obviously MaxPack, Showtime, and Skillus as top 3. Number 4 is a little bit more up in the air. I think number 4, many would probably say, is Hearthstone, just under Skillus. But even then, you know, the players vying for that number 4 slot, players like Geralt, you know, the Polish Protosses, Geralt, Cristiano, Mana. I would put DNS up there as well. Even Shadown, when it comes to some of the more, like some of the French Protoss players. You got Shadown, you got Petit Droger, who drops by every now and then. There's a lot of Protoss in Europe, but yeah, DNS is really looking strong in recent times. Do appreciate it. For now, though, we are getting into our openers, and DNS is a very standard player. I should also talk a little bit about his playstyle leading into this, is that Stargate openers is what I expect to see every game in this series, but we'll see. We'll see if he does decide to mix it up. For now, just a gate expand into the Cybercore, into a Stargate opener with that Oracle on the way. This should be leading towards the third base. Meanwhile, across the map, Cyril has been doing several things. Hatch gas pool into a third base. We've just been joining up. Pretty standard play so far here from our Zerg players. Cyril, of course, being the best player in the world, not the reigning champion, and that's, you know, Oliveira does own that slot, so it's always a little bit hard to really, you know, pin Cyril as the best. We've seen players like Raynor kind of rise up earlier this year when it comes to previous HomeStory Cups, but Cyril has really been cementing himself here for the most part, as Oracle is going to be zoned away. Cyril has shown weakness in certain matchups, you know, when it comes to like who's really the kryptonite to Cyril. Solar has really made his name known, right? Solar, he's dubbed the Cyril Slayer, constantly knocking him down in big events, whether it's WTL or other events as well. But outside of Solar, outside of the ZVZ matchup, like Cyril is looking damn powerful, and here in ZVP, any Protoss would have a hard time bringing him down. So we'll see if DNS can rise to that challenge. Of course, Cyril coming in as the favorite player, not just in the group, but in the event itself, alongside, of course, some of the other top European players from their other respective races. But we'll see. So far, Cyril going for a safety Roach Warren. That's around a 4-minute 30 Roach Warren timing. A little bit earlier than normal. Again, Cyril just playing it out safely. We have seen Cyril, we've casted a lot of Cyril in WTL and in Kung Fu Cups from time to time, and Cyril at times is very much so willing to be a little bit inefficient just to be safe, especially against a player that he considers to be a little bit, you know, weaker and not as top tier as, like, you know, your Showtimes or your Max Paxes. And he's willing to just, you know, play it out safely, sacrifice some of his economy in favor of just being secure. A couple of workers going to be going down. 2 drones so far. The Oracles have been kept safe and sound. We have a third Oracle coming in towards that natural base with the Queens. They are going to be able to keep up and even shave off those shields, so DNS has to back off. Behind this, we are continuing to tech up. Oh my god, we are going double Robot Colossus production. This is a little bit old school. This was quite prevalent a couple of months ago, I would say around July of the year, where we would go into double robot production into a faster robotics bay. It's a very defensive style. Basically, DNS, he's looking at turtle. It's a very Showtime-esque way of playing where you just turtle up back at home and you max out on a death ball of an army with 4 Colossus timing. Not 3 because you're making 2 at a time. Oh, that's a couple of perks getting picked up. But you hit a time with 4 Colossi with a death ball of an army, you get across the map, and it can be difficult to really deny. But Cyril, having the wherewithal, recognizing what's going on, has been very active with these links. He's keeping an eye on the gateway count on the army, I should say. And I believe we have, yeah, we saw both rovers. We saw both rovers immediately. Infestation Pit. Very wise move here from Cyril. So basically here, in this kind of game state, it's on the Zerg player to recognize what's going on and how greedy the Protoss player is being. Now, because DNS is being so tech heavy and it's going to take a while for him to build up this army, Cyril is taking advantage of this. And Darky's so good at also recognizing this and going straight into Lurker tech. We throw down like an Infestation Pit, start up the Hive, start up the Hydra Den, into Lurker Den, we get like 6 Lurkers just in time for the Colossus push. I'm curious if Cyril will take a similar route. For now, Roach Speed is on the way alongside Bailing. So it looks like Cyril, he's working on a Ling Bane Roach Ravager based composition. He's also taking up to Hive at the same time for Vipers. We'll see what kind of composition he's going to be working with by the time DNS moves out. So again, DNS, he's just building up his Colossus count. We have 2. Now working on 4, again making 2 at a time. 4 Colossus is the ideal amount you want to be pushing with. From 4 Colossus, you can then start working towards Disruptors. We have the Templar Archives on the way for Archon production, Charge Odds +1. Interesting that we're only going for one Forge. We could probably afford a second, especially if we get up to 4 base economy, but we're not quite there yet, so we're working on that 4th base, as DNS is still just turtling back at home. And again, the goal here for Cyril and the Zerg is to take advantage of how passive the Protoss is being. Again, there's no aggression other than the Oracles. The Oracles have been the only thing applying any kind of pressure to Cyril, which is why he's free to drone up to 85, free to take a 5th base, and free to tech up. But it looks like we are committing to Ling Bane Roach Ravager. So it looks like Cyril wants to be a little bit more aggressive, a little bit more assertive. He's already moving out with his army, working up towards that 4th base. Colossi are in position, and we should be able to zone Cyril back, but no, he wants to go for the Colossi. Again, there's not much to actually protect these units, so we do have to be careful. DNS has to take care here. As Bio's going to be zoning back the army. Interesting choice as well. DNS, instead of going for Disruptor production behind this, he's going Colossus into Immortals. So going into Immortal Storm even. Okay, interesting choice. So avoiding the Disruptors entirely. Disruptors can be unreliable, especially if you're if you're up against a player like Cyril. So it doesn't want to take chances. Big contamination on the Storm, though. That's actually pretty huge. Cyril is maxing out on Lingbane Road Ravager, and with that Hive Tech, we have Adrenal on the way, and he made a handful of Vipers. We have 2 Vipers already out. They're gathering up energy, and by the time they rock up, they're going to be able to yoink these Colossi. Cyril, he is ready for this. He's up 50 supply, and he's going to be crashing into these bases. DNS, can he survive? He's going to have shield batteries, cannons, and overcharge as well. Oh, but he has to be very careful about moving out. I feel like the defense here relies a lot on Storm. It would have relied on Storm, but Storm is delayed. Remember, it was contaminated, and Cyril may be able to attack before Storm finishes. It's going to be close. Storm is seconds away. Charger's going to be going down. Cyril pushing towards that third base. DNS getting in position. Does have some good SimCity, but where are the Storms? Good feedback. Cyril, feedback too late, though. The Colossi are going to be yoinked. Banelings, they do roll in. Do we have any Storms available? We do have a couple. But last we yoink another Immortal. That's going to be all the energy for these Vipers. They push towards that third base as well. Colossus goes down. Cyril is barely going to be forced back, but DNS, he lost so much in the process. He lost 3 Colossi and every single High Templar. The Ling Bane was able to crash in. And again, that was 1 second too late. Remember, the first feedback connected just as the adoption animation started. So Cyril, he did end up losing his energy on the Viper, but the abduct still went through, and Cyril was still able to take a really good fight. Both Vipers survived. They're gathering up energy in the main base. They're getting ready for a second wave. And DNS, not ready for it. He lost so much in that first assault, and he has a lot of recovering to do. On top of that, as I was talking about how Cyril identified what was happening and he was able to tech up and be really greedy, this is also where DNS could have taken this opportunity to also attempt to tech up as well. That was if his opponent was going into lurkers. But for now, it's too little too late for that. DNS has to work with what he has. Again, the Vipers are coming in. Bailey's rolling forward as well. Decent Storms here on the Ling Bane, on the army actually. But the Blinding Clouds of the Immortals, the yoink of the Colossus, and the final Colossus is going to go down. The Ling Bane barely not getting into the mineral line. DNS has done a great job at preserving his workers, going for a big Zealot counterattack. 4 drones, 5 workers go down. Pretty good damage here. By the Zealot run by. And again, DNS, he does preserve his workers, but he doesn't preserve his army. And every single time the High Templar count gets reset, we have to warp in more and more High Templar. These trades just haven't been efficient enough here for DNS. He just keeps trading expensive units, and that makes it worth it here for Cyril. What I will say, though, is that, again, he did lose some workers. He has to re-drone, regather that energy. Vipers are also sucking up those buildings, gathering up, getting ready for another abduct. We're being a little bit too cavalier. What do we have to support this army? No Storms, no Prism. The Ling Bane surrounds the Immortals. The Immortal count's going to be reset. We crash into the Colossus as well. A big overextension by DNS, and we're going to be able to yoink everything else, as DNS is going to be losing his entire army. The final Colossus goes down. We warp in a wave of Zealots to try to hold on, but that was every single Robo unit going down here. Cyril completely shutting this down, and again, we have creep all over the place, fully saturated on these 5 bases, still on 86 workers, still mining very efficiently. Once Cyril got going, he could not really be stopped. And DNS, he was able, again, what I will say is that it's impressive that DNS has been able to, for the most part, preserve his economy and maintain himself. It's just unfortunate that, whether it's the feedbacks being a little bit too late or being caught out of position as well, these have been some rough fights for DNS. So run by here towards the left-hand side. Gonna try and pull back the attention of Cyril. DNS trying to build up his army once again. Every single time, though, he has to warp in fresh High Templar. Zealot's going to be pushing towards the left-hand side, but there are reinforcements here in position. Roach is pushing forward. Bailey's as well. This time, a good feedback on that first Viper. But we're fighting out in the open. Big Storm here on the Ling Bane. At the same time, Bailey's rolling in. They don't quite make it in. Cannons do hold the line. Again, this is a good defense from DNS, unironically. This was pretty well handled. He lost gateway units, sure, 2 Archons, but he was able to deal with those Vipers, able to maintain his economy once again. If only he was able to build up that Colossus count. If only he was able to keep or maintain that Immortal count as well. It's the main army that's still lacking. Gonna try and clear up whatever creep we can before backing the hell off. we gotta be careful. Meanwhile, Cyril behind this, remaxing, still sticking with Lingbane Roach Ravager. Cyril, if we wanted to, we could tech up into Ultras, Greater Spire, Lurker Den, pick his poison, right? All three are viable options at this stage of the game. But Cyril, he's more concerned with just, you know, rolling on forward and breaking his opponent here and now, keeping the momentum up, keeping the momentum going, not allowing DNS to actually have a chance at maxing out. Center base is going to be denied. Here comes the Lingbane, here comes another good arc. Good feedbacks here on the Vipers. Storm's going to be crashing on forward here on the Lingbane. Banelings rolling towards that mineral line. Speaking of, they barely do not make it in. Once again, Stalkers, they warped in defensively. They're in position. Banelings, they try to crash into that mineral line, and they get the gas mining worker. 7 probes go down. At this stage, is Cyril going to be punished here for, again, A-moving a bit too much and being a little bit too aggressive? I mean, Greater Spire's on the way. We have the Greater Spire. We still are able to maintain our economy as well. We still have plenty of efficient mining going on. We could go for another base if we wanted to. This center base is being taken. But really, the win conditioning for Cyril is deny the 5th. Deny the 5th over and over again. And DNS is running out of money. You can see here he's running out of mineral patches in the natural, in the main base, even here at the 3rd. Another contamination on the forge. Like, over time, DNS will just run out of resources. This time, here comes the Lings. This time, the cannons and shield batteries were not replaced. And finally, Cyril, he will shut down this entire base mining. 15, 17 probes go down. It took 15 minutes, but Cyril finally gets the damage that he's been looking for here. Aye. And DNS, he is hurting. 19 dead workers. Up until this point, he was able to kind of weather the storm and turtle up, but again, from that previous engagement, we weren't able to replace those cannons, shield batteries, or units in time. The base was left vulnerable, and now Cyril, he's rolling in once again. How many Vipers? We have 1 Viper this time. Oh, the feedback. Well, the feedback killing the Viper even. Oh my god. Again, instead of 2, we only had 1. Banelings, they try to roll in. This time, DNS is in position with the stasis traps, with his Archons as well. But, like, the problem is that these are the kind of engagements that we needed 10 minutes ago. 8 minutes ago. From the beginning. DNS is trying to build up his forces here. Prism going for a counterattack. Trying to slip into the main base. Cyril does have eyes on this. He's going to be able to rotate around. Corruptor production has commenced. Greater Spire is done, so we will soon have access to Broodlords. Cyril just building up his gas bank, building up his economy. DNS trying to take control of that center base. I mentioned before that the win conditioning for Cyril is to deny this base. If this base can get up and running, then DNS will have the economy to sustain himself to be able to max out. He will be able to reach that 200 supply and start working towards Sky Toss. That's if he gets another base. But until then, we are pushing out onto the field, clearing up whatever we can. At the same time, Baleen counterattack. 13 workers go down. Aye. The second time that base will crumble. Massive storms here on the Lingbane. Oh my god. Not a bad trade there from DNS, but the Broodlords, they have arrived. And there's no blink. There's no good answer to them. There's no way to dive. At the same time, Zealot counterattack does get into another mineral line. Drones are falling. DNS rotating over towards the right-hand side, but the Broodlords are keeping up. And again, no blink, no sky toss. DNS just cannot contend against this. Blink is halfway done. That's still a long ways away. Cyril going to be able to maintain his position. Going for another link counterattack. DNS this time out of position, out on the map. These things are going to be able to wreak havoc. They shut down the shield battery, shut down the workers. Oh god. 18 probes go down in the blink of an eye. Cracklings, they're cracked, Bobby. They're cracked. And DNS has just been picked apart here. Did come into this game hoping that he could turtle to wall up, fortify himself, do his best Showtime impression and max out. But DNS was never able to reach over, like, what, 150 supply? Just never able to get there. Another big link counterattack. Gets us on the cannons, shield batteries, into the mineral line once again. And DNS just cannot keep up. Not anymore. And that Broodlord count is getting higher and higher. We finally do have Blink. Blink is an answer, but not the best answer for Broodlords. And even then, how many Stalkers do we have? We have 3! 3 Stalkers available here for DNS. Even if he had like a solid Stalker count, it's still so difficult to dive under this army and to try to shut down these Broodlords. It's a very difficult thing to accomplish without Skytoss. The last Cyril has arrived, taking another fresh mining base here towards the bottom left. DNS has gotten this base somewhat up and running, but if only he had a sewer economy everywhere else, and it's just not the case. How many Broodlords? We are up to 13 Broodlords. Infestors, 7 Infestors on the way with Neural Parasite as well, so we can take control of some of these units. Broodlord's going to be able to chip away at this army, and again, DNS, he's going to try to push forward. God, that base is taking so much damage. Still barely alive. Storm going to zone back those Broodlords. Just barely. Again, we are on that 13 Broodlord count. Infestors are on the way for Fungals, for Neurals. The Broodlings, they take down one of the Stalkers. We are down to 2 Stalkers remaining. Sorry, 6 Stalkers remaining. And the base is going to fall. At the same time, the ground army pushing towards the 3rd. DNS, he is going to be able to hold on to his 3rd base. Does warp in a wave of Zealots. Still has an army. A terrifying army. If only there wasn't Broodlords. If we had a ground-based army, then maybe DNS could take a fight and break free. But slowly, meticulously, the Broodlords, they take down the center base. They rotate over towards the left-hand side. Infestors have arrived. And we can dive. We can go for the Neurals. Oh, the feedbacks! Feedback 2 of those lurkers. Lurkers? Infestors. Stalker count, try to push on forward. Looks like we did take down, not even one Broodlord. The transfuse was too good. Keeping the Broodlords alive. We're trying to push in. But a really good angle of attack here for Cyril. DNS bleeding out so many Stalkers, and at the same time, big link counterattack and Roaches as well. At the 3rd, at the 4th. And here, DNS is all in. Completely all in at this point. One fight is all he has in him. But GG gets called. He cannot break Cyril, and Cyril will take game number 1. Ooh, GG. GG, well played. And this style of play that DNS was attempting here, this kind of tech-heavy style where you turtle up and, you know, a more defensive style, it's very difficult to accomplish against some of the top-tier Zerg players. I'm talking Cyril, I'm talking Dark, Solar, Raynor. The difficult thing about this style is that you're kind of reliant on your opponents not recognizing how like greedy you're being and how defensive you're being, and maybe overcommitting to defense early on, cutting workers, delaying their tech. But if they can recognize what's happening fast enough, then we saw how quickly Cyril teched up into Hive and teched up into Vipers, for example. Let alone like players like Dark, who would just take it one step further and just go mass like Hydrolurker Viper, right? Instead, and just have their way with your army and rush into the late game. Cyril, he did stick with kind of a more mid-tier army, but rush into those Vipers, recognizing their value, recognizing how impactful they would be by the time we reached 4 Colossus. Like, it didn't matter. The Colossus weren't threatening anymore just because Cyril was already there. That's why, like, this style it's really difficult to work when it comes to, like, the best of the best Zerg players, just because they're just so on top of recognizing what you're doing and punishing it, essentially. It's why it's not really seen when it comes to a lot of the other Korean Protoss players, specifically, or even I say Korean Protoss players. MaxPax is alongside this as well. Players like MaxPax, Hero, Classic, they're a lot more active, they're a lot more aggressive, they're a lot more assertive in the mid game here. They're looking to trade with you, they're looking to force you to make units, looking to delay your attack, more so than just this turtle style, right? So props to DNS for attempting, and hey, there were moments where, I mean, he was trading efficiently, but that was afterwards, right? That was after he lost a little momentum, after Cyril was in control. And here we go, we're getting into our next game, into game number 2. When it comes to this style of PvZ, it's like the style that Showtime has come the closest to quote-unquote perfecting, where Showtime is so, like, efficient and so damn crisp when it comes to where he techs, where he invests his resources, how and when he maxes out, and then eventually transitions into Skytoss. But I do also feel like it's also very map dependent as well. There are certain maps where you can pull that off on a little bit better than others, But here we go. We're getting into game number 2 and spawning in the bottom right hand corner of Oceanborn. We have the Finnish Zerg player, the blue Zerg representing Team Basilisk. It is Cyril. And spawning in the top left hand corner, we have as opponent, we have the red Protoss representing the Platinum Heroes. Oh, down in this series, it is DNS. Here we go. But when it comes to this, like, again, this tech-heavy turtle style, I do think that it's better on maps like this. We didn't really get to talk about hard-led too much, but hard-led has a very short rush distance by ground, and as you saw in hard-led, there are a lot of avenues of attack where you can kind of wedge yourself between the bases and take advantage of a defending player. The difference between Oceanborn and hard-led is that here on Oceanborn, here this entry point towards this triangular third base is very narrow, and the area between the third and the natural, there's a ramp, there's high ground, there's a point of elevation where you can wall off. Likewise here for this linear fourth base, it is a lot more narrow as well. So on a map like this, that style that we saw from DNS is a lot more powerful. It's a lot stronger. I mean, there's still things working against you on Oceanborn when it comes to the rush distance by ground, but the same is applicable in hard-led. So I'm not too fond of the playstyle choice from DNS on hard-led. If he were to do it again here, though, I do think that it makes a lot more sense on Oceanborn. Same with some of these other maps as well, like Alcyone, for example, or, I mean, Razza Station's a different beast. It's we don't have to talk about that. But, yeah, I do think it would make more sense on this map in Game 2, but we'll see. We'll see if DNS does decide to switch things up, does decide to change and adjust his style. For now, it should be a Stargate opener, pylon a little bit further out in the main base, and the Stargate is turned down. So just like the previous game, it's going to be Oracle into a third, into, I imagine, second and third Oracle. My apologies, this was a pull first from Cyril. Oh my god, I was lost in talking about the map when Cyril went for a pull first and forcing a big overreaction here. The pylon goes down. Does it all end here and now? There's no adept, everything's depowered, the Lings are getting out of hand. Behind this, Cyril, he's droning, he's making queens. Again, this was just a pull first, and DNS, did he not probe scout? He did. He should have recognized what was coming his way. Was woefully underprepared. Oh my god. And from here, DNS is going to be able to recover, but this is brutal. Again, a big delay on the first adept, a big disruption of the economy. That's 3 dead workers. Ay. Cyril. He's an animal, Papi. Oh my god. But yeah, that wasn't like a 12 pull or anything like crazy like that. That was just a pull first. That was just a pull first, pull before gas or anything like that. The Lings, they were able to get in, take down the pylon. Very nicely done. Ay. And from here, Cyril, he's in a pretty comfortable position. I mean, we have to throw down a second pylon here to repower the cyber core to start up gates, warp gate even, which is so heavily delayed. This has been an unfortunate start for DNS. And from here, I'll keep my eye on Cyril a little bit more. Look, I just made the assumption, but he's making 14 Lings, by the way. Cyril, he's popping up. This is not enough Lings to defend. This is enough Lings to defend and counterattack. Oracle comes in. We're going to get a couple of drone kills, 2 workers in total, but Cyril, he's sending everything across the map. His goal here is to break this base. Oh my god, he's droning up behind this. The Lings have arrived to deny the third. We can actually dip on forward here towards that natural as well. The Lings, they have been spotted by the Oracle. Second Oracle is moving out. But if DNS ever tries to expand and take a third, Cyril, he's here to stop it. He's checking. He is checking, he is in position. Oracle's going to be moving out. Cyril, he does deflect it. And the question is, where is that third? Overlord's coming in. We're looking for any kind of further tech, like a Twilight Council or a Robo. Here we go, third base is on the way. Oracles are busy. As soon as the third is being taken, Cyril does rock up. And immediately, we force a cancel. Force a cancel, we get a kill on the probe as well. Oracles, they're racing back home for a moment. And Cyril's all over this. From the first pylon snipe to the delayed third base, we could even try to delay the third again. For now, checking the wall, checking the third as well. Force the activation of the pulsar beam. And from here, we're just droning up. We got a lair on the way, Roach Warren as well. Roach Warren was at around the 5-minute mark, so pretty standard Roach Warren timing. Unlike the previous game, if you remember, game 1, Cyril did go for a safety Roach Warren at around 4 minutes 30. Here, at 5 minutes, you know, a little bit later, just so we can drone up a little bit more heavily. As we do have our Twilight Council and our Forge, and Cyril sees everything in the main. He's aware of the transition, he's aware of the tech. This should be +1 in Blink. This could lead into Charge, which it did lead into in the previous game. But that was because we went for double robo production, if you recall. It's because we were investing our gas elsewhere. With all these gateways, I'm picturing Blink, but we'll see what DNS goes for. Yeah, this time it is going to be Blink. So this could lead into a more active style, as once again Cyril goes in, forces that beam. How many gateways for the time being? We're still on a low gateway count, still only on 3 gates. So we can't really be too active with this. DNS is still stuck at home, and Cyril, he's free to drone. He's droned up to 66, that is 3-base saturation. And we already have roaches on the way. Cyril, he can choose not to make any more workers from here and hit a timing with +1 and roach speed. And if Cyril is feeling feisty, mate, we can just amass roaches from here on out and just end it. And based on his advantages, I think this is a wise move. Like, he already knows how delayed DNS is, how disrupted the early game was, how late this third is. He knows that DNS is still struggling to stand back up. He was knocked down, and he's in the midst of picking himself back up, and Cyril, he's looking to knock him back down for the count. As yeah, he's just amassing Ling, Roach, Ravager. The Queens are pushing forward. The creep highway has commenced. No more drones here. We have this 4th base just for larva, just for production, not for economy. Cyril, he's working on his push, trying to keep these roaches hidden. Back at home, DNS, what does he have to defend? He has 1 shield battery. He's taking a 4th base. Ay, ay, ay. Oracles, they do go straight for those Ravagers. But again, Cyril, he's not slowing down. There we go. Immediately, 3 more shield batteries on the way. But this is a late reaction. This is a late reaction from DNS because the army is already knocking down his front door. Yeah, we force a cancel on the 4th base. DNS trying to warp it as much as he can. His gateway is just now finishing. Vials are going to be connecting. They do chip away at the site defense. More Ravagers in production. Behind this, we throw down Infestation Pits. Cyril thinking about taking up. And we're getting on top of the army. The Biles! Oh, they take down 2 shield batteries plus the overcharge. Oracles are doing what they can, but the Queens are here to support, and the Oracles are being focused down one after the other. Oh, that's 2 Oracles falling. 1 Oracle left. Overcharge was already spent. The Stalkers are trying to trade. We have a defensive Void Ray on the way. Oh, but these are expensive losses here for DNS. GG gets called. He has been broken, and Cyril takes game number 2, taking the series 2-0. GG. GG, well played. A very different side of Cyril here in game 2. Not allowing DNS to, after a long, game 1 was pretty long, you know, after a long, grueling, taxing game 1, Cyril was like, no. I'm gonna knock you down before we can get to that stage of the game again. And yeah, much more aggressive style. Again, because of the advantages that Cyril got early on, it did lead into the all-in, into a 3-base all-in out of Cyril, just because he knew that that would be enough to kill him, to kill his opponent, to knock down DNS for the count. And GG, well played. Very decisive play there out of Cyril. And again, very calculated as well. Very nicely done. Big shout out to DNS though. Did fall here, but you know, even in game 1, he had his moments. Game 2 was we don't have to talk about game 2. We don't from the side of DNS, we don't have to talk about game 2. But game 1, you know, he was able to hold his own at times. Had a rough kind of mid game, but he was able to like survive and go with the punches for quite some time against Cyril. It's just unfortunately because of the rough like transition into the mid game, like DNS did have he was never able to really build up his army, but despite that, you know, having a lackluster army, he was able to, you know, survive at least against Cyril for as long as he did. Regardless, GG, well played. Cyril, of course, does take the first series here, and now we're going to be getting into our next game, into our next best of 3. And up next, we have two other players here in this group, and one of our own. I'm ready for it. I'm ready for it. We're going to be going over a Laser versus Dolan. Let's go. The Danger Dolan himself. Again, a big shout out to Take TV. This is not the first time that Dolan was invited to HomeStory Cup. I believe it was it HomeStory Cup 23 or 22? I think it was 22. I think it was 22. That Dolan, yeah, 22. When Dolan was invited to HomeStory Cup, I believe Dolan alongside Patty Mac was there as well. It was the winter. I remember it was the winter edition because I had the winter sweaters on and all that stuff. But yeah, not the first time that Dolan has been invited to HomeStory Cup, and he was invited again. It looks like, you know, he's on their good side. Was able to form some good memories with them, and yeah, really great to see Dolan traveling over to Germany once again, taking part, repping the Ducklings while he was there, and we'll see what kind of Dolan build he has available. I did mention before that I'm most excited for his TVPs. Terran versus Protoss is where Dolan can really spread his wings and fly, and he can really just have his way with players and punch up quite heavily. But against Zerg, it can sometimes be a bit of a different story, and we'll see. We'll see what he brings to the table here against a player of the caliber of a Laser. Of course, Laser being one of the best Zerg players in all of Europe. When we think of the top Zerg players, top 2 are Cyril and Raynor, of course, and 3 and 4 are a Laser and Lambert, respectively. So Laser, not an easy opponent here in the first round. Best of luck to Dolan as we dive into game number 1. Let's go. And again, this is day 1 of the event as well, so you know I'm sure that they haven't gone too deep into their drinks yet. I'm sure. It's the later days, Faku. The later days. We're still sober. I'm hoping. As we're getting into this and spawning in the top right-hand corner of Alkione, we have the Polish Zerg player, the blue Zerg representing Team Liquid. It is a Laser. And spawning in the bottom left-hand corner, we have as opponent, we have the red Terran representing the CranKy Ducklings. It is Dolan. Here we go. Catching up in the chat. Oh, the copy pastas. True. I'm very impressed by this Cyril guy. He might be the underdog for now, but if he keeps practicing, I can see him doing really well in the future. True, true. Maybe after his military service. Maybe that's when he can really pop off. Just catching up. Dude's from Texas. I take SC2 very seriously down there. True. They've got a lot of players. For now, we do have our Hatch Gas Pool standard opener. I should keep an eye on the openers as well from even players like a Laser. I know a Laser, he's known for his macro play, but Hatch Gas Pool here from a Laser. Dolan going for a Rax Expand. This is not the Beyond 2 Rax opener with 2 Rax Reaper on the low ground. This is a Rax into CC into Factory instead. This is the special opener. Not many players go for this. We have seen Beyond dabble with this build here and there every now and then. We've seen Gumiho have his own variation as well. So it's not exclusive to Special, but Special did kind of originate this opener, and every now and then a couple of players do experiment with it as well. Just a way to wall off here on the low ground to, in a way, be a little bit greedy as well. We do go Marine first. We're going to be shutting down this first Overlord, ideally shutting it down as we do start a step forward, looking for that kill. Second Marine is on the way. I'll go here to try to be a nuisance early on and supply block a Laser. And this Overlord, oh, can it make it to the pillar? Up! It's so close. The pillar, it's right there, and it looks like the Overlord will make it in the end. Dolan not quite getting on top of that Overlord, but this will keep a Laser in the dark. A Laser, he's not fully aware of what's happening here on the low ground. Not aware of the opener, actually. So for all a Laser knows, it could be 2-Rax Marine here, which is something that Fuchsia does quite often. Instead of 2-Rax Reaper, 2-Rax Marine is a much more greedy build, but yeah, Laser for now is stuck with a bit of incomplete information. As that Factory is on the way. Behind this, going for a 3cc, so a very economic opener out of Dolan. Going 3cc before Starport. any tournaments today? Nothing live, which is why we have a little bit of freedom here to go over some replays from HomeStory Cup. That's why we're covering the HomeStory Cup replays. Otherwise, if there was something live going on, we'd probably be casting it. We'd probably be involved in some way. For those wondering, Wednesdays is usually the night for Kung Fu Cup. Usually Kung Fu Cup is on Wednesdays, but because of DreamHack Atlanta over the weekend, there's no WTL this week, which means there's no Kung Fu Cup this week. Otherwise, we would actually be live with Kung Fu Cup right now. I think it's postponed to next week. After DreamHack Atlanta. For those that are curious. Yeah, for now, we're just getting that CC up and running. Likewise, we have a laser going to be joining up back at home. With this opener as well, even though it's 3cc into a starport, there's no add-on swap because the starport is most likely going to be in the main base. So we start up much faster stim. So a much more aggressive style here from Dolan. Much faster stim. Here goes double Hellion into double Cyclone. Okay, this is a bit of a marauding force that can shut down overlords as well as a queen here or there. There's a lot of potential with this push. I mean, ideally we want to try to catch some of these overlords, but so far they're all kept safe and sound, and Dolan isn't quite able to catch any of them yet. A laser, he does spot that Cyclone though, so he's making a wave of lings. Going to be cutting workers a little bit early on here at 45, just making sure that he's safe and secure. So he's respecting this quite a lot. Yeah, just amassing lings, basically anticipating a dive. If Dolan ever does dive, a laser has plenty to get on top of him, to surround him, to shut him down. So Dolan has to be very careful with this army, because the laser did cut workers to allow for this ling force to be present. Hellion's going to be poking here on the creep. Laser, again, and getting ready for any kind of movement here from Dolan. Behind this, we're getting into our follow-up here. We have additional Raxes. Interesting. Okay, this is not 3cc. Oh my god! This is, I mean, technically 3cc before starport. Yes, it was a 3cc 211 straight into 5 Raxes. Okay, before the starport. So this means that, again, the Marine Army isn't really going to be active anytime soon. We're building up an early tank as well. So we are heavily relying here on these Hellions and Cyclones to be active on the map, to provide for some map control while Dolan builds up his Marine forces instead. We'll soon be taking his third base, don't get me wrong, but yeah, it won't be active anytime soon, just because of how heavily this starport was delayed. And this starport was delayed. On top of that, there's no add-on swap for like reactor medevacs that we would usually see. Like typically we see a reactor on the factory, then we add-on swap and we have the reactor to pump out medevacs. But because of the earlier tank production, again, delayed medevacs. So yeah, very unique style here from Dolan. Again, it is far less active. It's a lot more, in a way, turtly. We're basically building up a death bowl of an army here with much earlier tank production and eventually into all these Marines as well. This push is going to be pretty terrifying. I'm curious if this is going to lead into an 8 racks. I'm very curious if we're going to 8 racks from here. Speaking of, as 5 racks is done, that's 3 more racks is on the way. We are indeed 8 racksing. That does make a lot of sense here with this build. Basically, what an ARAX is a 3 base all-in. This is assuming that we don't take this extra gas geyser at the 3rd, and we don't get a 2nd factory. If we do take another gas geyser, then this can lead towards additional factory production, and into a 4th CC, into a 4th base. So, we'll see. We'll see if Dolan commits here with the ARAX, or if he does transition. Meanwhile, a laser back at home, he's droning. He went for a Roach Warren earlier on, so he's got Ling Roach. He's been building up quite an army here. I was assuming it was just to be defensive early on, and it is, but with these Ravagers on the way, a laser can soon be active himself. We're working towards delayed Eva chambers, delayed 1-1, so the upgrades are less than ideal. We already have 2-2 on the way for Dolan, so Dolan will be up in upgrades. A laser makes up for that with Ravagers here to help deal with tanks. Like, specifically against this army composition of Dolan, Ravagers aren't too bad. They can bow down tanks quite nicely as we dip in and dip out. Hellbats are on the way. Ooh, Dolan is now pushing with his first wave of medevacs, but again, we have Roach Ravagers to deal with this. We cannot push in. The scan does reveal the army, and I don't think Dolan intends to commit. We're picking off tumors and then backing the hell off. Oh, 1 tumor lives. 1 tumor does survive. We do bleed out one of those Hellbats. And again, Dolan, he's on the retreat. He knows he cannot fight this. And a laser, he's done waiting. He's drawn up to 88, and he is focusing on Ling, Roach, Ravager. Bailing speed on the way. Bailing speed has been delayed, but again, because of the Roaches. And Dolan has to take a defensive position. But again, his tank count is looking solid. how many tanks? We have 4 tanks here in total on the high ground. Again, still no extra gases, still no 4th base. 8 racks is fully operational here. And Dolan, he's just going to be building up his army, maxing out, and then just sending it across the map. He can hit a strong time with 2-2, basically. 2-2 is going to be a big power spike for Dolan. And hopefully nothing goes awry before those upgrades kick in. Dolan is going to be poking out onto creep. Clearing up some of these tumors here. Just trying to vie for map control. Again, he doesn't really want to commit. He doesn't really want to go toe-to-toe with this army. Get a laser. He's fully saturated on 4 bases, getting a 5th, getting the gold. Hive is on the way. We just commenced 2-2, and here comes the push. Again, 2-2 still on the horizon for Dolan. Biles will not be connecting. It's going to be a slow push here from Dolan. Again, thankfully, because of these Ravagers, we can force a siege early. We can slow this army down, try to force these sieges. Bailey's going to be rolling in. Up! A late reaction. Massive connections there. Bailey's do crash into some of those Marines. Biles connect as well. Ugh, not the best fight from Dolan. Again, it did look like he was caught off guard once the army pushed forward. We're down to 3 tanks. But again, Dolan, he is all in with this. He's committed. And he's got a lot of creep to work through. Another tank gets biled. See, every time a laser pushes in, we bile down a tank. We're down to 2. And yeah, that's significantly weakening this push. A 3rd tank does arrive. And we see a laser getting ready for a surround from every single angle. The rocks were knocked down earlier. We get a surround. One of the tanks on siege, and we will clean this up. A laser swallowing up the army, swallowing up the tanks, even fighting off of creep. But there's nowhere to go. There's nowhere to run. We connect. We crash into the bio army. And Dolan, he almost has nothing left. The tank count was reset. The Marines, they took the Bailings to the face. And a laser. He doesn't have to turn around. He can commit. He can keep pushing. There's 1 tank left over. And again, the Biles, they will deal with it. And we will be able to crash into the 3rd base. The boys are being pulled. Dolan making his final stand here. But the writing is on the wall. Economic damage is being done. Again, this was a 3-base solid, but we barely have an economy to lose. It's 12 more SCVs go down. From here, Dolan just trying to pick up whatever he can here with his last remaining units. He has reinforcements on the way. He can maybe try to hold on. He's getting some of the Ravagers even. Oh my god. Is getting on some of these Ravagers, but he lost 15 SCVs in the process. Ay, ay, ay. And he will clean this up. He's off the mules. True. I almost forgot. We do have mules available. True, Bobby. True. From here, we could try to pull a Maru and try to lift up the main base and take the gold, for example. If you remember, we during GSL, Maru also failed with an 8 racks and kept it going for quite some time against Scarlet by lifting up his main, taking the gold. Similar story here. That's a lot of meta. Oh my god, I just realized how many we have. Oh my god, we have 1 medevac for each, for basically a pair of Marines. 12 medevacs here, going for a double drop here on the right hand side. Gonna try to find some economic damage. There's a world where if we can somehow pull a laser apart with drop play, maybe we can come back. Again, as we mentioned, there is potential here to try to sneak out some of these other bases, but a laser's in position. He sees everything. He has eyes on every single would-be 4th base, including the gold. So again, good map control here, good map vision from a laser. Second army is pushing out. We have a second wave. And fun fact, Dolan, he has a comparable army size. But the quality of the army, that's what's different here. Big power bomb on the medevacs. Vipers pushing forward. Big blinding clouds on top of the tanks as well. And we swallow up the army for a second time. We've tied up the upgrades. We have 3-3 on the way. There was potential with the second wave, but alas, a laser this time has Vipers. And this time can be that much more active here, that much more proactive when it comes to cleaning up this army. He will force this back. Again, getting on top of what little is left. GG gets called, and a laser will take game number 1. GG. Oh, and yeah, laser having a much more defensive style here. against Dolan, specifically when it comes to opening up Roach. Opening up Roach is typically like a very safe way to play in ZVT, and it worked wonders for him. He was able to just have his way with the push when it eventually did move out across the map. A laser may have had delayed bailing speed, but again, he didn't really need it for that first attack anyway. And that was just really committed there from Dolan. Unfortunately, the first wave was a little bit lackluster. If you remember, it did look like Dolan was maybe looking at his production or looking elsewhere when a laser first engaged in the center of the map, and that's when we saw like some pretty big bailing connections. Like Dolan just was not set up to fight off of creep. Even though he was off of creep, maybe he was not expecting a laser to be so proactive and to dive then and there. And after that first fight, I think it was in that first fight as well where Dolan lost 2 tanks. He started with 4, and I think he lost 2 tanks in that first engagement. And from that moment, that's just too much momentum lost. Like, when you're going for these 8 racks, when you're going for these 3 base all-ins as a Terran player, like, every unit counts. Every unit, like, matters that much more because you are all in, because there's no next step. And these fights, like, they need your attention. They need to be meticulously controlled. Otherwise, you know, it could all crumble around you. And GG. GG, well played. A laser does handle that very well. Again, really safe play, did pay off against Dolan, and I think that's a wise choice. Again, Dolan, he has a reputation of being aggressive, and yeah, laser, he handled himself well there, as he does take a lead in the series, and we're going to be getting into game number 2. We are getting there. Oh, hello, Thonia. Hello. ¿Qué tal? ¿Cómo estás? As game 2 is going to be taking place on Hecate. Let's go. Let us go. And in the top right hand corner of Hecate, we have the American Terran player, the Red Terran representing the CranKy Ducklings, down in the series, looking to fight back. It is Dolan. And spawning in the bottom left-hand corner, we have his opponent. We have the Polish Zerg player, the Blue Zerg, representing Team Liquid. It is a laser. Here we go. Dolan looking to go for a similar opener here, going for the racks on the low ground. If you remember last game, we saw Dolan go for the quote-unquote special opener, going for the racks into CC, into factory here on the low ground instead. Looking like a setup for a very similar opener once again. Meanwhile, laser going for hatch first. Nothing too crazy. Hatch, gas pool should be the opener here from our Zerg player. And we'll see what kind of direction Dolan will take this in. Again, Dolan, he is not afraid to go for something like mech. We have seen mech before, and especially in the rise of, you know, the Cyclone meta, we have seen that in the past. Dolan! Where are we going? I did see Dolan have a look here on the left-hand side of the map. I was very curious as to what this would be. And this is looking like a proxy factory. This is looking like a double factory, 1 base all in. I'm curious here. I'm very curious. There's also the option for a proxy factory alongside a proxy starport for a drop into the main. That's also a possibility. We'll see if a second factory gets thrown down back at home. Now, this double factory build is something that Dolan has used to great success. Did actually use it in the DreamHack regionals, in the ESL Masters Winter Regionals. And there it is. Yeah, double factory. Let's go. The Dolan build, Poppy. The Dolan build. Dolan did debut this in ESL Masters Winter, the Americas Regionals. I think this was it against Nina or Trigger? It was against Trigger. He beat Trigger with this. I think it was on Oceanborn in TVP. I've only seen Dolan do this against Protoss, so I'm interested to see how he does this against Zerg. Very interested. As we do have our reactor on the way, we should be going for an add-on swap. Now, there's 2 different ways to go about this. This could be Mass Hellion with the Armory for a Hellbat all-in, or we could go double factory Cyclone. Both are available here for like Hellion Cyclone. So I'm curious if we're going for the Hellbat variation or the Cyclone variation. As reactors are on the way. Meanwhile, laser back at home. He's just getting towards his 3rd base. Going to be droning up. None the wiser. He sees the opener, and now he sees the lack of CC. He's aware. He's aware that something is wrong, something is amiss, and we are going for the Cyclone variation here. So no Armory, no Hellbats, just 2 Factory, Mass Cyclone, 1 base all in. Let's go. Let us go. And again, we've seen this work against Protoss. I'm curious to see how this works against Zerg. Cyclones have a lot of firepower, but a laser, because he's scouted, he sees lack of expansion, Spinecrawler immediately. A laser, he now is aware a 1 base all-in is coming. He's not fully aware of what is coming, but knows that something is awry, and we're bringing forward the queens. We have 3 queens for now, a 4th and 5th queen on the way, Ling speed as well, amassing Lings, queens, and Spinecrawlers. That is exactly what we need here to defend. Dolan has to be very careful with how he engages. Cyclones have arrived. Boys have been pulled to help repair, and to help buffer as well. We take down one of the overlords. A laser is supply blocked. A queen will fall as well. Good pick off so far here by Dolan. Oof. Does get the queen. Is going to be threatening that spine as well. Ay. As it looks like the Lings are going to be diving on top of the Cyclones. They get on top of the SCVs as well. There is no repair. They repair each other. And the Lings, they break through. They force back the army. Spinecrawler is done. The Queens are going to be able to transfuse just barely each other. I'm hoping. There we go. Do transfuse. The laser is holding onto his natural point now, but that Cyclone count is getting higher and higher. We are up to 8 Cyclones. But the Lings, they close it as they get on top of the Cyclones as well. They get another 2 big pickoffs. 2 Cyclones go down. And good target firing. Another Cyclone falls, and we're losing too much momentum. A laser, he is holding. And remember, Dolan is completely all in. The Lings, they're going for a counterattack. It looks like they're looking for the proxy. They're looking to try to shut down these factories, and they will eventually come across it. Again, a good awareness here from a laser. He catches 2 of these Cyclones, camping the factory as well. And this is just going awry for Dolan. And GG gets called. A laser, he shuts it down, and he will take the series 2-0. GG. GG, well played. A solid defender from Malaysia. Really good scout of the natural base to recognize that something was wrong. And a big shout out to Dolan as well. Again, I've seen this work against Protoss. Remember, who else did this? Was it Ryung? I think it was Ryung versus Max Pax during WTL, who also whipped this out. And again, we have seen this snowball out of control against Protoss players. Against Zerg, the problem with doing this against Zerg is the Ling, right? The problem is that Locons are powerful, but if the Locons are wasted on Lings, and if you have enough of them, and if you're able to have good enough creep spread to dive on those Cyclones, like, it's really difficult to gain momentum. It's not as powerful against Zerg because of that reason, because of how the dynamic between the Ling and the Cyclone works. They do a great job at just tanking those shots, tanking those Locons, and closing the distance. Then you have, of course, the Queens to support, and yeah, the Spinecrawler came into play as well. So yeah, just really good crisis management out of a laser. On top of all that, just really good of him to actually scout and confirm that there was no natural base. I can definitely see a Zerg player like having for that being like an oversight for like your standard Zerg player, to just like miss that and not check to see if there's expansion. That was the trigger point there for a laser to recognize what was happening and prepare. So really good reactions from a laser. Does shut it down. My condolences to Dolan, but I appreciate the effort. I appreciate the build of choice there, and unfortunately not having as much success as we've seen in the past, but I appreciate it nonetheless. GG, well played. And with that, we are getting ready for our next series here. We're getting ready for our 3rd match of the night, featuring other players in this group that we have yet to cover. It is going to be Harstem versus Fiant. Let's go. I'm here for it. I'm ready for it, Papi. Let's go. Again, Harstem, of course, it is his year, as it always is. You know, the year of Harstem. True. He's a veteran of the scene, has been competing for a long time. Fiant is more of an up-and-comer. He's a newer face here in the region, a newer face amongst the pro scene, and yeah, he drops by and chat from time to time. You know, he's a big fan of Fiant. But he is yet to really break out. You know, it does look like at times, you know, maybe like nerves sink in, or you know, inexperience is definitely a thing at times when it comes to Fiant. But it's great to see him getting more experience offline. You know, I believe, especially because Fiant, he's Swedish, he was there at DreamHack Jönköping, I'm pretty sure. He was there at the previous HomeStory Cup, and now he's here at another HomeStory Cup. And yeah, these events, they're invaluable for a young player like Fiant, and we'll see if he can make a name for himself. We'll see if he can fight back against a player of the caliber of Harston. I want to believe. I do want to believe. As we are loading on in. And spawning in the top left-hand corner of side Delta, we have our blue Protoss player from the land of the Netherlands, representing Shopify Rebellion. It is Harston. And spawning in the bottom right-hand corner, we have his opponent. We have, going for a 15-15 opener, we have the Swedish Zerga player representing Team Roddy. It is Fiant. Here we go. Again, going for a 15-15 is basically a way to get your natural base on location. In case Harston had gone for a probe immediately across the map to deny the expansion of his opponent, then Fiant would be forced to take the unnatural natural, either the triangular third or the linear third. With this build of choice with this opener, Fiant able to get a secure base. Now this is technically inefficient. Again, it's 15 hatch into a 15 spawning pool. Spawning pool should soon be thrown down. This is technically inefficient, but it is safer. It is a safer way to open up, just to make sure that you're well prepared for something like a Twilight Council opener, something like Glaive Adepts. There's that spawning pool on the way. This also leads into delayed gases. That's the other downside of this opener. And there are some Zerg players that intentionally do delay their gases a little bit longer, but we'll see when Fiant does decide to take it. But now, Probe is going to be skirting around in the main base, just trying to get a read on what's going on, trying to get a read on the gas timing as well. As Harston, back at home, is just going for a standard opener. Gate expand into the Cybercore. Standard stuff here from Harston. Now, Harston does have a couple of unique builds himself. Harston is a very unique player, which is why I appreciate covering him whenever I can. He does have his own builds, his own play styles, and can at times get away with some hyper greed as well. I think one of the more notable things that Harston does do against Zerg players, and at least did do in the previous map pool, is go for a third Nexus before Stargates. Just an insanely greedy opener that we would see Harston constantly whip out. And he's been able to use that to great success. I remember we first saw that earlier this year in DreamHack Jönköping, in ESL Masters Summer, when he did that against DRG, and I want to say Shin as well. And he actually beat them in the open stage, in the open bracket. It was crazy to cover that, crazy to cast that. And then when Harston did it against Lambo completely shut it down and punished it so hard. It was we came to the conclusion that, again, we saw a lot of the Korean Zerg players struggle to punish it because they didn't really know how to, or what to do in that scenario. They tried and failed, whereas Lambo, it did seem like he was a little more accustomed, which would make sense because they're teammates. Like, I'm sure Lambo and Harston have practiced many times, and Harston is a little more familiar with Lambo's a little more familiar with Harston's builds. For now, Double Adept is moving out. We are going for a Stargate opener here back at home. Overlord will confirm this. This time we're not going for that greedy third base before Stargate. And Oracle is on the way. I say greedy third base before the Stargate. If I remember correctly, it was a third before... Was it a third before the first Oracle? If I remember correctly. It's been a while. And it's been a while since DreamHack Jönköping. And now first Oracle is coming out. Depths are going to be threatening those the mineral lines. So far, Fianti's keeping up. Again, he's just joining back at home. We've got 2 queens in the main base. We have 2 queens here at the naturals. I'm sure Spore Crawlers are soon to be on the way. We are in position to deal with this Oracle, but just because we're in position doesn't mean we can. It's going to be on Fiant's control here to keep up with Harston. You know, third base is being taken behind this first Oracle. Ling's going to be checking the scouts. Oracle does arrive. Adepts threaten to shade towards that natural, and so far we do catch 1 drone. 1 transferring worker, but only 1 worker so far, so acceptable losses here. Third base is on the way at a standard timing here for Harston. Standard timing for the third. Second Oracle does make it. Gonna be joining up at the first. We still have shields to work with. I spoke too soon. Oh, the Oracle does take some hull damage. As the Adepts, they catch another 2 workers. Oh god, 4 in total. Ay. Fiance, unfortunately, just a little bit too greedy there. Was caught mid-transition to his third base. Mid-transfer. Does lose a good chunk of probes. Good chunk of drones even. Oracles, they do threaten to dive. Getting damage done on that queen. Behind this, we have a transition. Really fast forge. I don't see a Twilight Council. Delayed Twilight Council even. It's coming back to me. Like, it's been too long since I've casted Hearthstone, but this is the kind of stuff he does. So he's gonna have a much faster +1. Delayed blink here from Hearthstone, or delayed charge. Pick your poison. We'll see what he goes for. Does try to dive on top of the queen, but we do have a transfuse. Queen will survive. Ling's gonna be threatening a counterattack. Stalker shutting down some of these overlords in the center of the map. As the ground army moves out, we do have the Lynx come in. Oh, we do get on top of that mineral line. Probes, they are forced into that pocket, but we have the Warping of Adepts. We should clean this up. We get 1 probe kill, 2. Nice target firing there out of Fiance, getting 2 probes. Meanwhile, the Oracles, they dive into the main. We have the main army between the bases as well. Hearthstone being so aggressive without blink. Could easily be punished for this, but alas, Fiance still struggling to keep up, losing another 2 drones, and Hearthstone, he gets the hell out of there. Again, if he sticks around, he will get surrounded. He will be completely cleaned up. So Hearthstone must be very careful with his movement. And it is not blink, it is going to be charge. So we have charge and the Temple Archives. Chargela Archon on the way. A pretty strong timing is ahead of us. Meanwhile, we do get caught out. Force the recall. Yeah, 1 Adept will fall. At the same time, the Oracles, they get in between the bases. 3 more drones. We'll check how many in total here as we do threaten to dive into the main. 9 workers in total. Not too bad. Pretty acceptable damage here for Fiance so far. But the Lings, they do get across the map. They get on top of these Stalkers. Again, there is no blink. 1 Stalker goes down. Nice pick off here from Fiance. Behind this, he's getting saturated on 3 bases. We have 7 Overlords on the way. It's looking like Fiance wants to go for a 3-base all-in. We'll see. That was quite a bit of a Overlord explosion from Fiance. Working towards Roach production. Is saturating his 3rd base, getting up to 60 workers. +1 range and Roach speed about to kick in. I'm curious if we're going to be hitting a timing. Meanwhile, Hearthstone still staying on 3 bases. Getting up to 8 gateways. +1 is done. Charge done as well. And here we go. Hearthstone, he is committing to his push. Now, thankfully, Fiance hasn't been over-droning. He's been making units this entire time. Loving that. So you have the feedback on the Overseer. Ravagers are going to be coming in. Sure, we're getting on top of the hatchery, but alas, there's nothing to kill. Here we go. We have Lings back at home going for a counterattack, and we're shutting down this army, getting us up the Ravagers. Sorry, giving us up the Archons. The Ravagers, they pile down the Prism. Oh, they will shut it down. Big pick off. And Fiance will chase this back. Again, Hearthstone was so committed with this push, and he's losing too much. Very expensive losses. And Fiance, he's going to keep on pushing. He smells blood in the water. Getting on top of that final Archon, he will shut it down. Very good pickoffs here from Fiance. Again, reinforcing from across the map. He is all in. He's not saturating his 4th base. Cutting workers at 61. 3-base Ling Roach Ravager all in from Fiance. And Hearthstone was caught with his pants down. Pull him up, Bobby. Pull him up. Zealot counterattack. Gonna find some damage. Don't get me wrong. We do have a couple of Immortals to reinforce. So we're diving on top of the Immortal. No shield battery. Oh, the Immortal will escape. We do catch this army. Good engage from Hearthstone. Fiance overextending. He does still get an Immortal though. Yeah, these Ling reinforcements, they were a little bit too late. Looks like Fiance wants to try to wait out that prismatic alignment. That pulsar beam. Oh, and Fiance, he bleeds out too much here in the counterattack, and now he's in some trouble. He doesn't deny the 4th base. The fourth is up and running. We still have an Immortal. Fiance, he's gonna have such a hard time droning from here. Ay. He has to end it here and now. There's no turning back. We do deny one of the Archons. A 2nd Immortal arrives. Can we get on top of the Immortals? That's the question. No shield battery. Probes are being pulled. We do focus down the Archon. hiding as best we can against these probes. Yeah, the Archon's getting a lot of damage done in the backline. Big warping of Zealots as well. And Fianti's running out of steam. Back at home, the Zealot counterattack catching reinforcements, slowing Fiant down. The longer this goes, the worse it is for Fiant. He was so close. He had such a good start, punishing the aggression of Hearthstone, but wasn't able to really pop off in the counterattack, wasn't able to deny the 4th base, and now Hearthstone is miles ahead. He's on 77 probes, building up the Archon count, the Immortals as well, and now Fiant, he's in trouble. He's in a lot of trouble. He's down 20 workers. Over 20 workers. And all Hearthstone has to do is just max out from here. Just chill on 4 bases, probe up, tech up. Pushing like this is risky for Hearthstone. It is very risky. Just because Fiant does have an army. But there's nothing stopping Hearthstone from just teching up from here. Even throwing down like a Fleet Beacon and a second Stargate, going to Sky Toss. Like, the world is Hearthstone's oyster. Like, he can do whatever he wants at this point. Except for, like, pushing out. If he were to move out into the center of the map, that would be best case scenario for Fiant, to take a fight on creep even. As we see Fiant trying to pull Hearthstone apart. Attempting to, again, good kiting here against these Zealots. Gonna be able to clean them up eventually. Big revelation on the main army. Hearthstone taking defensive position. Again, very wise of him not to move out. To stay back at home. To just chill. 2 shield batteries and overcharge cannons. Sorry, 3 shield batteries are here in position. Hearthstone has more than enough to defend. We get a revelation on the army. Wild's going to try and zone this back. We have 5 Immortals. Oh my god. Like, Hearthstone has a death ball at the moment. He can move with this. 5 Immortals. Soon to be 6, I imagine. We can even get it work on another. We have sentries available. Force fields as well. Wiles forcing back the army for a moment. The Archons are being shaved off. We only have 1 shield battery. No, but it's fine. We don't need shield batteries. Don't worry about it. We have Immortals. That's all we need. As he forced Fiant back. Wiles trying to catch some of these units here. Fiant bleeding out more Ravagers. Again, his army just does not scale well. Especially against what Hearthstone has. I mean, Hearthstone did lose a lot of Archons, to be fair. He doesn't have a Warp Prism either to reinforce. Hearthstone has to be careful with this army. Additional Archons are on the way. Again, the Immortals becoming a little bit exposed. Wiles going to be connecting. They do take down some of their Stalkers. But yeah, Hearthstone is being a bit cavalier with this. He's giving Fiant a bit of a chance. The Immortals still going ham, though. They clean up the roaches. Where's the Warp Prism? There we go. Warp Prism now on the way. Without it, like, this is risky. Without that Prism. So we do dance with the army. Fiant falling behind in supply, though. And Hearthstone, he's backing off. He's waiting for the Warp Prism. He recognizes how risky this is. He's like, you know what? Maybe I should have a way to, like, juggle my units and to reinforce. That's probably a good idea. That's so just wait for the Prism to rock up. And now we can push in. Now we're good. Now we're good to go. There we go. Reinforcements on the way. Hearthstone taking a 5th. Fiant trying to get in position. Pushing on forward. Does pile down one of those Stalkers. At the same time, a big Zealot counterattack. We get into the mineral line. Fiant just doesn't have the numbers. He doesn't have the numbers to defend both locations at once. 5 drones go down. The Queens! The Queens that Rick sent for a moment. They get taken out as well. Ay, ay, ay. You have a Roach counterattack across the map. Trying to get damage done, but we have defensive Immortals as well. Hearthstone has more than enough to defend as long as he gets his Immortal in position. GG gets called as the natural base is broken, and Hearthstone will take game number 1. GG. But what I will say is that Fiant definitely had a moment in this game when Hearthstone overextended with its Archon, with his first push, with his Archon charge, with his charge Archon. When Fiant shut down that first army, unfortunately, I mean, it's a hard decision to make. If you remember, Fiant went for the kill instead of going for the third, instead of going for the fourth base. Fiant, he went straight for the Immortals, and chased them towards the natural. He was going for the kill, and to be fair, if Fiant had caught both of those Immortals, there were 2 Immortals at the time, if he had killed both of them, then he might have been able to break into the natural and end the game. He may have been able to just go for the kill move and just end the game then and there. But he didn't get both Immortals. He only got one of them, and he was forced back because of the kiting, because he took too long to actually get on top of the army. And because he was forced back then and there, Hearthstone, he got away with the 4th base. He got away with a better economy, and a Protoss player with a better economy than the Zerg is a terrifying thing in PvZ in general, even if it's maybe not so much against Terran, but against Zerg at least, it's a terrifying thing. And as a result, Hearthstone did snowball out of control. Fiant was all in, the all in failed, and after it had failed, then yeah, it was just a rough road to recovery there for Fiant. Just was never able to really get any momentum from that moment. There were other times where Hearthstone was overextending and where he was maybe being a little bit too aggressive, but outside of that, Hearthstone was in control after that initial hold. And with that, Hearthstone does take a 1-0 lead in this best of 3. And now we're going to be getting into game number 2 on Alkyone. Let us go. Series will continue. Here we go. I see in chat, is this qualifiers or something? No, this is the group stage. Group stage of HomeStory Cup. Hello, hey, it's you. If you're curious, these are events that did occur a couple of weeks ago, and we are going over the group stage ourselves, going over some replays of an event that has already gone by. But here we go, we're getting into game 2, and spawning in the top right hand corner of Alkyone, we have the blue Protoss player representing Shopify Rebellion. It is Hearthstone. And spawning in the bottom left-hand corner, we have his opponent. We have the Swedish Zerg player, the red Zerg representing Team Roddy down in the series, looking to fight back. It's the young upstart, the up-and-comer. It is Fiant. You know what? I keep calling him young. Hold on. How old is he? All right. I think he's like... Was he playing in the qualifiers? I think he's 16, right? Is he 16? Let me just double check. My prediction, 16 years old. He is 17. 1 year off. He turned 17 this year. That's it. But yeah, very young player. Relatively new to the scene as well. Has a lot of potential, of course. Like some of these other young upstarts like Arrowfire, like Eba, for example. Always great to see these young players make a name for themselves. And yeah, he's a damn good player, don't get me wrong. As I mentioned before, you know, that's why I love that he's been invited to events like HomeStory Cup, because I do think that they are invaluable to a player like Fiant to just gain experience playing on the main stage, playing on the main stream, playing with a crowd as well. A bit of a smaller crowd at HomeStory Cup, but a crowd nonetheless. I remember Fiant talking about how he at times does get nervous. Wait, am I thinking of Fiant or am I thinking of someone else? Might be thinking of someone else. Like, but nerves can be a thing, especially for some of these younger players. So yeah, just gaining that experience, always a good thing. As here we go. We are just getting into our openers as well. This time it was a hatch first. Last, if you remember, in game number 1, it was a 15-15 on a longer map, on a larger map like Alkyone. We just go for a hatch gas pool. Standard opener here from Fiant into a third base. It was delayed as third for a little bit by this probe, but not by too long, because we do get it up and running on location. Meanwhile, last game we saw Hearthstone come out with his own aggression as well. If you recall, did go for a Stargate opener into a faster Forge, into a charged Archon timing. Because Fiant happened to already be cutting workers at 60, because Fiant already happened to be working towards the 3-base all-in, Fiant was able to shut Hearthstone down initially. So I imagine Hearthstone's going to have a different approach here. Or will he? Now that I think about it, a map like Alcyone is very macro-oriented. It is very much so. Like, there's a lot of bases to be taken, long rushes by ground. We see a lot of slip map scenarios on this map as well. So maybe Fiant would be a little bit more economic and greedy, and maybe if that's the case, Harsum can punish Fiant a little bit here. We'll see. We'll see what Harsum does decide. My eyes are on the Protoss here to dictate the pace of the game. My eyes are on Harsum. Meanwhile, Adepts, they do shade in. They get one drone kill. Good reaction out of Fiant, pulling back. Only losing one worker here in the Adept defense, or against the Adept aggression. Oracle's moving out. Third base is on the way. Immediately, Fiant's going for a big lane counterattack. Now that he's dealt with the Adepts, he can threaten this third. The Oracle doesn't turn around, by the way. Oh, greedy move here from Harsum. He saw the Lings. Now he turns around, but it's a little bit too late. Oh, can we get us around? We do dive on top of this Adept, but I believe it should be able to shade away just in time. No, it does go down. Big pickup. We get a third Adept. We force the Oracle back home, and we should be forcing the Pulsar Beam as well. Yeah, wasting energy defensively. So again, Harsum just missing the initial counterattack of Lings, or not taking it seriously enough, was punished for it. As a result, Fiant is free to drone up back at home. Lings, they get in! No shot. They get into the natural base. Can they get a probe? Oh, only a handful of Lings. They force back the Oracles once again. The Overlord confirms the third Oracle on the way, and we do get another probe in the main. Very nice damage here from Fiant, getting one probe kill, 3 Adepts, forcing back these Oracles time and time again, giving Fiant the time he needs to actually finish up these Spore Crawlers, spread his creep, drone up, and get in position. But now we're up to 3 Oracles. Here we go. The pressure is on Harsum. The pressure is on to get damage done, to kill some workers, to try to get on top of the economy of Fiant. Fiant, he's going to be rotating over. He does spot those Oracles ahead of time. Queens are in position. Good target firing. We do force a bit of an overreaction there from Fiant, but regardless, we do get some hull damage done on the first Oracle. Lings counterattack. They force the defensive warp in. The Oracles, they look for another way, and they do dive into the third. They get 3 probe kills. 3 drones. Not too bad. 3 workers. Once again, a bit of hull damage is dealt. But again, Harsum does keep all of his Oracles alive at least. Coming back home with this third one. Meanwhile, Fiant droning on up, getting into a pretty standard Roach Warren timing here. Faster Eva Chamber for +1 melee. Looks like Lingbane Roach Ravager to be the composition of choice for the Zerg. And Harsum, this time it goes into +1 and Blink. Not charge. Bit of a delayed forge here from Harsum. But he does his own thing with his forge timings. Like, at it. It's fine. It's Harsum. Gonna be pushing on forward here. Getting a reinforcing pylon. Hyper aggression here from Harsum. Oh my god. Lings were threatening a counterattack, but the wall is a wall. The mineral wall, I should say. Lings try to go for a big surround here. Can they get a Stalker? They cannot. Again, Harsum being so aggressive here with the Stalkers. Blink is not done, by the way. This is a very risky maneuver. Reinforcing on the front lines. How many gateways do we have? We are still only on 4 gateways. We should be looking to expand and take up behind this, but still just a very aggressive stance from Harsum. Lings going for a counterattack. At the same time, trying to dive on top of this army. 1 Oracle goes down. Big pickoff. Big pickoff there from Fiant. Getting onto these Stalkers once again. The Link counterattack. Is there anything back at home to defend? I think we just warped in. Uh-oh. The overcharge is Pulper Shield Body is going to be going down, and probes will fall as well. Big run by here from Fiant, punishing Harsum, forcing the recall. The recall will save this base, but Fiant, he forces back this army, catches more Stalkers in the center of the map. The Blink, not in time. Pylon falls as well. Fiant having a good moment here. Harsum losing a little momentum. Behind this, he's working towards Immortal production, towards Archons as well. Oracle's going to threaten a dive on the left-hand side. Sorry, on the right-hand side. They don't find a way in. Whew. And Fiant does survive. Now, the downside here is his worker count. Once again, just like the previous game, he is cutting workers early. He's at 64 workers. This is 3 base saturation. He's got a handful more drones on the way, but I'm curious if he does intend to saturate this 4th base. Speaking of 4th bases, Harsum's is going to be denied. Big run by, big denial. Oh, that was a cancel, not a... Sorry, that was a kill, not a cancel. Ay, ay, ay. Harstem a little bit distracted. Fiant, the young boy, he's pulling the old man apart. He's that was a big oversight there. That's 400 minerals down the drain. Storm is in production here. But that was a big pick off there by Fiant. Meanwhile, he did drone up to 71, you know, just under 4 base saturation. But he's looking to max out. Lingbane Roach Ravager, he knows he has momentum on his side. Now, by the time he moves out, Storm is going to be done. We will have, how many High Templar? 4 High Templar back at home. Each, we might have 1 Storm each if we have enough time for it. But Fiant, he's rotating over towards the right-hand side. He's looking to collapse on this army. We need shield batteries. At the same time, another counterattack here towards that natural. The rocks are being knocked down. Harstem, he has time. There we go. Cannons and shield batteries are on the way. Harstem getting ready for the assault. Meanwhile, Fiant, he is committed. +2 melee on the horizon. He catches some of these stalkers again, no blinks. Fiant, he can threaten that 30. Forces the defensive warp in. Here we go. Fiant collapsing on something. Big storms. Oh my god! Massive storms on the roaches. Not on the Balings, though. The Balings survived. They were behind the roaches. They're crashing on 4. They get on top of the army. And they're getting into the mineral line as well. Oh, not quite the mineral line. The army instead going straight for the stalkers. GG gets called. The Harstem is broken. As we also crash into the natural. And Fiant fights back, tying up the series 1-1. Let's go. GG. Oh, we, for the first time tonight, have an ace match. We do have an ace match. Again, Harstem being a little bit too cavalier earlier on, if you remember, with his stalker aggression, trying to warp in, trying to be in his face, was eventually punished for it. Not just that, but there were a couple of little moments here and there where Fiant was able to slip into the main base, was able to force back the army. Remember, this game, as opposed to game 1, game 2, the Oracles were lackluster. The Oracles, they killed 3 workers, I want to say, like 3 drones in total. Like, they barely did anything to the economy just because of the momentum that Fiant had, because of how active he was with his lings, forcing back the Oracles time and time again, wasting the energy. And yeah, again, everything culminated in eventually that kill on the 4th base, and then Fiant, he had plenty of momentum. If that 4th wasn't killed, it would have finished up faster, would have more static defense there, would have had a better economy, and Harstem would have had a much easier time defending. Not saying he would have defended nonetheless, but an easier time here. Alas, was not the case, and we are going to game 3. We're going to the ace match. Let's go. No Kung Fu Cup this week? No Kung Fu Cup. I believe it's next week. For those that are curious, there might be some people tuning in like, yo, aren't we usually casting Kung Fu Cup? Where's KFC? Where's the KFC, papi? I want my chicken. Well, don't worry, you'll get it. You'll get it. There is 1 round of Kung Fu Cup left this year, before the end of year, before the playoffs of WTL, and Kung Fu Cup alongside World Team League is postponed this week. It's on hiatus. It's on hiatus because of DreamHack Atlanta. DreamHack Atlanta is this weekend, so because of that, a lot of players are traveling. Because so many players are traveling, WTL, they know that they won't have players available for their tournaments, so that's why Kung Fu Cup and everything else is postponed until after DreamHack. So just a heads up. So yeah, again, a big shout out to WTL. They're accommodating because of the big premiere event. The same thing happened during HomeStory Cup. When HomeStory Cup was live, everything was put on hold for a week, just waiting for HomeStory Cup to wrap up. But here we go. We're getting into the ace match. We're getting into game number 3. The final game of this series. I'm just excited that Fiant was able to take a game. Let's go, Bobby. Can he take a series? That's what I'm here for. As spawning in the top left-hand corner of Oceanborn, we have the blue Protoss player from the land of the Netherlands representing Shopify Rebellion. It is Harstem. And spawning in the bottom right-hand corner, we have his opponent this time once again going for a 15-15 opener. We have the Swedish Zerg player representing Team Brody, the young up-and-comer. It is Fiant. Here we go. Yeah, we do have another 15 hatch opener. This makes sense. If you remember, Fiant didn't do this opener. He went for a straight up hatch first on Alcyone. Big reason for that is because of the longer rush distance by ground. Here on Oceanborn, it's a lot shorter, so the likelihood of Harsum actually getting here in time to block your base is a lot higher. So Fiant doesn't take his chances, goes for a much earlier hatchery, just to make sure he isn't blocked and he isn't forced to expand elsewhere. Especially on Oceanborn, it is very, very brutal to try to hold on to like your... I mean, you can't take the center base, you have to take this triangular third base instead, and... that's... yeah. Understanding of the 15-15. Again, this does mean that the gas is delayed. The gas is going to be delayed here for Fiant, means later link speed. Means it's going to be that much more difficult to deal with something like Adepts, as the gas is now being taken after the hatch and after the spawning pool. Back at home, Harsum going for a standard opener, going for a gate expand into the cyber core. Everything looking normal from the side of Harsum. The question becomes, what does Harsum do? Like, my eyes for the most part in this series are on Harsum for his tech of choice and for his build of choice. He has been mixing it up. Game 1, he went for a charged lot Archon +1 timing. Game number 2, he was hyper aggressive with Stalkers eventually into +1 Blink Stalkers with Immortals to reinforce. So he has been mixing it up. Fiant has been playing pretty similarly, being very heavily reliant on Lingbane Roach Ravager. He hasn't tried to sneak into Mutas. He hasn't tried to tech up into Lurkers. He hasn't played Ling Hydra, for example. It's been pretty standard play out of Fiant. Nothing too out of the norm. Not really deviating too much. Which is why, again, my eyes are mainly on Harsum to see what he brings to the table and how Fiant is able to adapt to him and react to him. But now, Stargate Opener should be for an Oracle. Should be Oracle first towards the third base. A lot of players have been embracing the Void Ray first recently, but Harsum doesn't seem to be that kind of player. Doesn't seem to be embracing that kind of style. The power of a Void Ray first is to shut down these Overlords, to keep the Zerg player in the dark, to shut down multiple Overlords even, and to get into hidden tech. Like with a Void Ray first, you can get into Skytoss, right? Like a fast fleet beacon, double Stargate play. You can go into an Immortal based all-in. You can go into Glaive Adepts. You can play standard. There's a lot available to you if you do go for the Void Ray. But again, Harsum has been more concerned with economic damage and map control, and is committing and sticking with the Oracle. So Ling is going to be shut down. Overlord's getting in position. The Ling was able to get a full scout of everything, so Fianti's fully aware of the Stargate Opener. He also saw the first unit coming out, so he's aware of the Oracle. Ooh, and that is a very fast Roach Warren. Fiant. My eyes were on Harsum, but really they should be on Fiant. That is what, a 3-minute 30 Roach Warren. Very early, very unorthodox. You do not need a Roach Warren this early on against Protoss unless they're going for a Twilight Council opener. And Fiant, he did see the Stargate, so he's going all in. I'm feeling aggression here from Fiant. Otherwise, there's no other reason to throw down the Roach Warren this early on. Oracles are moving out. Third base has been spotted. We are droning for the time being, saturating our natural, taking a second gas geyser to facilitate and to allow for Roach production. Ling's just confirming that third. Behind this, we have a Twilight Council on the way. Delayed Forge, but Harsum does typically delay the Forge. As we do get a couple of drone kills. Every drone kill counts right now because I don't think Fiant intends to drone up too much more. We do get the Revelation in the main. We do get eyes on the Roach Warren. We see it. We spot it. Harsum sees. Harsum knows. Behind this, Twilight Council, 2 more gateways. Initially, this looks like Glaive Adepts, but because we saw the Roach Warren, this should be Blink Stalkers. Or regular Stalkers, I should say. Eventually into Blink. Meanwhile, here comes the push. Queens are amassing, creepers are being spread. We're walking across the map, waddling across the map. We do get eyes on this, we do confirm this, and here we go. Roaches are in production behind this. Fiant is completely all in off of 31 drones. Again, it is unfortunate that he lost 3 workers earlier. That will slow this down. But the all-in is coming, and there we go. Stalkers are in production. I love that Harsum, upon seeing the all-in, didn't waste resources on any upgrade here. He's just preserving all of his resources on warp-ins, on stack defense, on surviving. And he does engage early on, picking up a couple of Lings here and there. The Ravagers are on the way. 14 more Lings behind this. The Queens, they're waddling. Again, this is without a lair, so we can't spread creep. There's no Overlord to spread creep or anything like that. We are committed. We have 6 Queens with this. 6 Queens, 4 Ravagers, a couple of Roaches. Lings are being shaved off. We have shield batteries. We have an overcharge ready for this as well. Can we pull this off? Here we go. Biles going to try to force back the army. Good splits out of Hearthstone, avoiding those Biles. And he shaves off all the Lings. We're getting on top of the Roaches. There's the overcharge. We focus on the Ravagers. Where's the Biles? We don't focus on the Shield Battery. The Shield Battery goes ham. It keeps everything alive. And Hearthstone is going to completely shut this down. You can see the Queens try to dive on top of the Shield Battery. It will be focused out, but it's too little too late. There's nothing left. The army melts. And Fiant loses everything. With that, there is nothing left here. We're still trickling in a couple of Lings, a couple of Roaches. Again, that Shield Battery was the MVP. Not just the Shield Battery, to be fair. Really good target firing out of Hearthstone. He did focus down every single Ravager, which is why we didn't have enough Biles to focus down the Shield Battery to shut it down. And we overcommitted to trying to kill it. It was a bit of a magnet there for the Zerg. And with that, Hearthstone is far ahead. He's up over 20 workers. He's up in bases. We have Overlord speed. Oh, the Overlord's getting picked off. Supply blocking, soon to be supply blocking Fiant. And what does Fiant have left? How many queens do we have? 0 queens. 1 queen in production. We have a couple of Roaches, a couple of Ravagers. Blink is now on the way. +1. And now we can work on upgrades now that we know that we've secured ourselves. And Hearthstone, he comes back home with his Stalkers and he's moving out with his Oracles. There are Spore Crawlers in the bases. Queens are amassing with 4 Oracles. We can dive on top of the Queen. We can dive on top of these Ravagers even. Like, we can do some stuff. We have options. We have options. As Hearthstone is trying to prepare back at home. Again, he should be staying back at home until he gets his upgrades. Without Blink, it is risky to move out. So we're waiting for Blink, waiting for the army to be a little bit more flexible and maneuverable, and then we can push. Then we can commit. That's now Oracles. They gotta be just ensuring that there's no drones. Like, feels bad, man. No workers whatsoever here at the 3rd base. Aye. We dive on top of the Queen in the main. We already barely had any queens to begin with, and we just go to town here in the mineral line. 7 workers go down. 8, 9, almost 10. We could maybe get a 10th here. Yeah, there we go. And we can go for the Queen as well. 10 workers, almost 2 queens. They're 2 queens. Fiant, his economy is in shambles. He's going for a second wave, a second all-in. But as he gets ready for a second all-in, here comes the army of Hearthstone, this time with +1, this time with Blink. Ling's coming in for a surround. But we do pull back to the safety of the rest of the army as well. The Oracles are out of energy. They can't really support. Lings are going ham. They're doing their best here, picking up a couple of Stalkers. But alas, GG gets called. Fiant, he knows the writing is on the wall. Well played as well, and Hearthstone will take the series 2-1. GG. GG, well played. Congratulations to Hearthstone as he does take the series, but a shout out to Fiant because he forced the ace match here. He was able to force a game 3, and part of me is a little bit sad about game 3 because, you know, it was just an all-in that was scattered ahead of time. Remember, it was a 3-minute 30 Roach Warren, and very early on, because of the Oracle opener, because of the revelation, Hearthstone saw it. He saw it ahead of time. He saw it well ahead of time. Hearthstone had plenty of time to prepare for the all-in. That's why he skipped out on Blink. That's why we had plenty of shield batteries and Stalkers ready in time. That's why the Oracles were able to shave off some of the units as well. Like, Hearthstone had just so much time to prepare. Unfortunately, it's a risk you take if you're going all in. You know, scouting it is like half the battle essentially, and yeah, Hearthstone was just so vigilant when it came to his Oracle scouting. Unfortunately, Fiant wasn't able to keep it hidden, and with that, he was shut down. So GG, well played. And with that, we are halfway through our broadcast. We are halfway through the group, at least tonight. I did mention before that it is a round robin group stage, so there's a lot of games to be casted, which is why we're casting half today and half tomorrow. The other half will be tomorrow. We can take a moment here to have a look at the group itself to go over what we have covered so far. And there it is. We started the night with Cyril versus DNS. DNS able to do his best Showtime impression and weather the storm in game 1. And then Cyril just all in him in game 2. It was Cyril just looking terrifying in game number 2 against DNS. But yeah, Cyril, of course, up against DNS 2-0. Alaze was able to take down Dolan. The highlight of that series was game number 2, where Dolan went for a 1-base 2 factory mass cyclone all-in. It was something you mainly see against Protoss. It was interesting to see it against Zerg, but Alazer was able to scout it ahead of time. Very similar to the game that we just saw, where Alazer, he scouted the all-in well ahead of time and prepared so beautifully against it, where Alazer just shut it down completely. That was a 2-0 in favor of Alazer. And then we had our current series that we just wrapped up, Hearthstone taking down Fiant 2-0. A little bit more back and forth so far, the first series to make it to the ace match, so I'm definitely happy to see that. Of course, did end here in the failed all-in, and now we're halfway through. We're halfway through the broadcast tonight. Up ahead of us, we still have Alazer versus DNS, Hearthstone versus Dolan, and Cyril versus Dolan as well. The Duckling. We'll be ending the night with the Duckling here, up against some of these other big heavy hitters. We'll get there, we'll get there. For now, though, we are going to be going on a short break. I'm out of water. This is empty, Papi, empty. I was going to say I'm starving. I'm dehydrated. I need some water. So we're going to be taking a short break now that we've reached the halfway mark. Take this moment to hydrate your hydras, stretch your roaches, massage your marines, drain your disruptors, and we will be back soon. I see in the chat, how is I casting this and ESL at the same time? Apparently I'm also on a rerun at ESL. There you go. That's all the casting, Papi. All the casting. We are casting twice at once. What are we casting on ESL? Hold on. Let's see. Ooh, Max Pax versus Nick Rack. Oh, the regionals. I see. Let's go. But yeah, with that, we're going to be going in a short break. So take this moment to get some snacks, get some water, go to the bathroom, and we'll be back soon with some more matches with Alazer versus DNS. I'm excited for it. I'm ready for it. Let's go. See you soon. Until then, enjoy the Brutal OST. Welcome back, everyone. Welcome back to our next half of the broadcast, to HomeStory Cup number 24, Group A, Part 1. Part 1, of course. We're going to be having Part 2 tomorrow for the rest of the group, for the rest of the broadcast. But for now, we're halfway there. We are halfway there. And up next, we have a Laser versus DNS. Two players that I would say are pretty comparable at the moment. I mean, I don't know, maybe I'm putting too much stock in DNS. Maybe I'm too much of a fanboy here, but I'm excited. We saw DNS struggle a little bit against Cyril, but I mean, everyone struggles against Cyril. I want to believe that DNS will have a stronger showing here against a Laser, but we'll see. We'll see if that is going to be the case as we get ready for our first game. Get ready for game number 1 on Hard Lead. Let's go. Let us go. I see in the chat a bit of talking about reruns on the ESL channel. From my understanding, ESL, they actually have reruns for all their channels, like for StarCraft, CSGO, and Dota as well. So yeah, they have reruns on all of their esports, from my understanding. And if there was any proof that it negatively impacted viewership on live audience, then I imagine they wouldn't do it if that was the case. So I don't think that's the case. But here we go. We're getting into this, and spawning in the top left-hand corner of Hard Lead, we have the Polish Zerg player, the blue Zerg representing Team Liquid. It is a Laser. And spawning in the bottom right-hand corner, we have as opponent, we have the French Protoss, the red Protoss representing the Platinum Heroes. It is DNS. Go. So we are going to be settling into this again. DNS earlier was facing off against Cyril, and we saw a couple of different styles. I'm getting some deja vu. We saw them both face off here on Hard Lead earlier today. DNS went for a very heavy tech-heavy style, going for a Stargate opener into a third, into +1 charge, into double Robo Colossus production. It wasn't until he got 4 Colossus out where he could start being active, but by that time, Cyril had full map control, had teched up into a hive, worked towards Vipers, had 5 bases, 85 drones, and he just never allowed DNS to establish a 5th base, just contained DNS for the entire game, and DNS was never able to max out, never able to break free. Again, Cyril was able to identify this tech-heavy style and defensive style from DNS and take advantage of him by getting up into Vipers so incredibly quickly. We'll see how a Laser's approach to this is going to be, and we'll see if DNS does this again on Hard Lead. I mentioned at the time I wasn't too fond of it on this map. I do think that it's quite difficult, just because of the short rush distance by ground and how spread out and open some of these bases can be, especially when the rocks get knocked down here at the triangular third. It's very exposed. You can attack from multiple angles. Likewise, you know, the linear third base is more defendable, don't get me wrong, but also a little bit further apart. There are definitely better maps. There are better maps where you can be defensive on and be tech heavy on. So I'm curious if DNS does it again, or if he has a different approach. For now, should be a Stargate opener. Gate expand into the Cybercore. Stargate opener here from DNS. Meanwhile, across the map, a Laser going for a hatch gas pool. Here we go. So everything is looking pretty normal so far. Pretty normal, pretty by the book from both a Laser and DNS. Probe moves out just to be a little bit of an annoyance, but it is going to be zoned away by these Lings, which means a Laser can finally expand and take that 3rd base on location. Adept has arrived, but I believe should be a little bit too late to deny the 3rd, as the hatchery is now thrown down. From here, the Adept, its job is just to scout, be a little bit annoying, maybe pick up a drone or 2. As you do get a couple of hits in, 1 Ling goes down. As we commit to the shade. Oh, the follow-up shade a little bit late, but thankfully not a lot of Lings. We do back off. We do preserve this Adept for the time being. And DNS will back off. And now we meet up with a second. With 2 Adepts, we can one-shot Worker, so this suddenly becomes that much more threatening. But Link Speed is about to kick in, and with Link Speed, a Laser can keep up and shut down whatever aggression that DNS brings to the table, as the Adepts are forced back. Behind this, there's a Stargate. Oracle is on the way. Behind this Oracle, we should be throwing down a 3rd momentarily. We'll see if we take the linear 3rd or the triangular 3rd base location for DNS. Immediately, the Lings are here. The Lings of a Laser are here to deny any kind of 3rd, but they do miss the Adepts. Here we go. The Oracle dives into that natural base. No Spore, by the way. And drones are going to be pulled back. The Lings, they get here just in time. 2 drones go down, but we shut down the Adepts. We get a full surround. And both Adepts will fall. Meanwhile, the Oracle not able to punish this. Again, a laser. He's a very greedy player here in ZVP. He often does avoid Spore Crawlers, but there we go. Now they are on the way. They're late, but they're on the way nonetheless to make sure that we have them up and running for the second Oracle. Things they come in for a counterattack, but the Oracles are in position, and this third base is going to get up and running. Third Oracle is in production. DNS starts moving out, but he does expose his own base here. We do have a couple of Adepts to defend. We will force back those Lings, and we are zooming across the map. No drone here at the natural. We have 2 Queens in position. We will force back those Oracles for the time being. Robo follow-up. Interesting. Okay. He's doing it again. Oh no! As the Oracle takes a lot of hits. 1 shot from going down, and we do manage to escape here towards the top left-hand corner of the map. Another Oracle comes in for a stasis trap, though, and it will go up. Late reaction out of a laser. Aye. 4 drones and the Queen do get caught, which means that this Oracle can escape if we so chose to. Another Oracle coming in from the right-hand side. Queens, though, they are keeping up. They do zone it back. But again, do you see what I see? I see a lack of Twilight Council. So Robo and Forge, a very tech-heavy style. This is for a +1 early Immortal production, eventually for a delayed Twilight Council. Essentially, because there's no Twilight Council, it means that DNS can't really be active on the map anytime soon. He will eventually throw down the Twilight Council, but that'll be much later. And there it is, the Bay is on the way. So we're getting to really fast Colossus production. And there's the second Robo. So double Robo Colossus production. This is very similar to how he played against Serral. I say similar because he still went for a faster Twilight Council in charge. But yeah, this is just a very defensive style here. And as we mentioned before, the power spike for DNS is his first 2 Colossus and then his 3rd and 4th Colossus. His 4 Colossus push can be terrifying. Already though, a laser just now working towards his lair here. It's on a laser to scout. It's on a laser to figure out what the hell's going on. And once he does, he already sees another Robo on the way, but for all he knows, it's the first Robo. Once he figures out what's going on, we need Hive Tech. We need a tech up, we need to be greedy, we need to drone up as well, and make sure we don't waste any resources on roaches. Or not too early on, I should say. So it is, we have our first Immortal on the way. Safety Immortal, just because we're working with so little to defend. There are a lot of Lings coming out, and can a laser punish the greed? We dive on top of the Adepts, we dive on top of the Sentry. Do force a defensive warp in here. And it looks like we should be able to barely hold on the Oracles. They have been recalled back home. The Immortal! There's no shield battery! But we have plenty of Zealots. Yeah, the Lings are forced out. They don't get any damage done. They do kill the Sentry, which is nice, but DNS does hold. And again, he's getting away with all these Colossi. Delayed charge. The charge is delayed because we don't need it anytime soon, because DNS isn't pushing anytime soon. He's stuck at home. Like, the downside of this playstyle here from DNS is that you're not active. It means that a laser is free to drone. He's free to drone heavily, expand, double expand, get a hive, get an infestation pit, do whatever we want. And again, usually if Dark was in this position, we would see a fast Hydra Den into a fast Lurker Den into Hydra Lurker Viper. A laser, he's committing to Lingbane Roach Ravager for the time being, which is okay. I do think he over-invested in this. We have a lot of Lings and they haven't really done much yet. We do depower some of these gateways. Colossi have been revealed with the revelation of these Colossi, with the lack of charge. A laser now knows what's been going on, and now he's droning. He's making a wave of workers. Now we see the infestation bit. This could have been a little bit earlier, but again, a laser only just now got confirmation of what was happening with the revelation of the Colossi. And yeah, so with this infestation bit, that should be for Hive Tech. We'll see if it's fast enough. Again, Vipers would completely shut down this style, as you saw before. The Oracles, they get a couple of drone kills. They threaten the 5th base. Evo Chambers are finishing. Roach Speed is on the way. Station bit wrapping up as well. We are working towards that 4th Colossus. Now, if you remember, I was saying that before, we could go 4 Colossi into Disruptors. I think last time we saw a heavy Immortals count. There we go. Immortals are on the way. Oh, a little bit supply blocked. 5 pylons being thrown down. But it looks like we're going 4 Colossus into Immortal production into Storm. At least that's what happened previously. Meanwhile, Hive is on the way again. This is later than Serral's Hive, if we want to compare our 2 series. Compare how Serral fared against DNS. But we'll see if it comes out in time. as ZNS is going to have a bit of a power spike soon. Once he gets his immortals up, I mean, I say that, I think he's still going to stay at home until he saturates his 4th. If that's the case, a laser should get away with this hive. There we go, he's still just hyperfixated on Lingbane Roach Ravager. Amassing his army, maxing out, working on his upgrades, bailing speeds on the way, +1 range as well with the double Eva chamber. And yeah, DNS, he's chilling. There we go, he's just heavily fortifying himself, walling up as best he can, stasis traps, cannons, shield batteries, immortals, archons. For all intents and purposes, we are building up this death ball of an army, and off of a 4-base economy, we can sustain this. Now, I'm really curious what's going to happen. Okay, so a big thing here. One, because this hive is later, because the Vipers are later, DNS is actually maxing out. He's actually reaching that 200 supply. This is something that he was not able to accomplish against Cyril. So already we see a bit of a different dynamic here. But a laser is now getting ready to push in. Bailings are rolling in towards that 4th base. Do we have enough to defend? They get in! Up! They barely do, but they do not get into the middle line. They connect with the stack defense. The cannons, shield batteries, they do hold on. Another stasis trap goes off. A laser trying to force his way in. DNS has to be very careful not to overextend, as he still has to deal with the 2nd prong here on the right-hand side. So far, DNS is holding. He loses 4 workers, barely anything. Now, from here, this is where we typically would see the Protoss player throw down a Fleet Beacon. A Fleet Beacon and a 2nd Stargate. They have maxed out on 4 bases. Now is the time to get ready for Sky Toss, ideally. DNS, though, he's sticking to Ground Toss. We have Storm on the way, additional cannons as well, +3 attack. That is going to be a strong timing, don't get me wrong, and he's checking, he's scouting, he does get eyes on the hive, but he's still committed to Ground Toss. Bold move here by DNS, bold move. A laser working on an Ultra Cavern, interesting. Knocking down these rocks. DNS still has that Storm in production, doesn't have it ready yet. Vipers have arrived. How many Vipers do we have? We have, ooh, 1. Only 1 Viper. Likewise, that Viper has a lot of work to do, has a lot of abductions, and has a lot of High Templar to avoid as well. So not the most ideal army here from a laser. But this can pay off as, oh, he gets in! The Bailings, they crash into the middle line. That's 27 probes going down, and suddenly a laser's fine. He takes down an entire mineral line. For one moment, DNS wasn't paying attention. Lings, they come in to clean up all the stack defense as well to make it easier to go for another run by. And DNS just not ready for this, not in position. Caught off guard. He could not allow this to happen. The base itself is going to go down as well. DNS is trying to get another base up and running, but that is huge. And now he's working on +1 on the Fleet Beacon, on the 2nd Stargate, on Sky Toss. A little bit late of a transition, and I mean, even if this is a bit of a later transition, this would have been fine. This would have been perfect if we kept this mineral line alive, if we were able to defend. DNS now leaving a couple of Archons in position, but it's too little too late. Laser has momentum. And because of the dead base and the dead mineral line, DNS doesn't have a bank. He doesn't have a bank, which means his transition into Sky Toss is going to be more of an awkward one. And the laser continuing to be aggressive here. He knocks down these gateways. He's creating an opening for those Bailings. The Miles. Not quite connecting with the Oracle. Meanwhile, another link counterattack. Shield battery's not done. We're getting on top of the Archons. Oh, shield battery just barely keeping it alive. Whew. An efficient fight for a laser. Sorry, for DNS, my apologies. Does survive with those Archons. Meanwhile, cannon goes down. A laser on 86 workers. He's got his half of the map already secure. DNS pushing onto creep here for a moment, just clearing up whatever he can. Working on the mothership, carrier production. He's working towards that late game. But again, it's still a long road here for DNS. Ling's going for another counterattack, just barely out of range of the shield battery. The Zealots go down. Nice pickups here from DNS. Sorry, from the laser. Good pickups overall. Mothership has arrived. With this mothership, we could try to skirt around the edge of the map. And there's a world where DNS could try to even recall across the map as well. And he'll have a defensive recall available as well. That's the case later on down the line, of course. Against this kind of army, we can't quite push out. And here we go, Laser Key pulls the trigger. Going straight for the middle line. Storms here on the Arc, so on the Ultras. Nice feedback here on the Viper as well. Big storms. We do crash into the mineral line. 13 workers go down. But the main army of DNS unfazed. And now we can counterattack. Now is the time to push. A Laser, he just spent so much Ling Bane on that base, on the economy. And now we can break free. Now is the time to lay siege on some of these bases of a Laser. And a Laser, he's in some trouble. We have 4 Ultras in production. Yeah, we have to evacuate. A Laser, he knows he cannot hold on to this base. He has triggered a massive counterattack. The army a little bit disjointed. Big storms here, though. On the army, on the Ultras. Archon's pushing forward. A Laser, he's supply blocked. No shot. A Laser is supply blocked. Big storms as well in the speed zone. Archons are pushing on forward. GG gets called, and DNS, he snowballs out of control, taking game number 1. GG. Let's go. And this is what he attempted to do against Cyril previously. Remember, some of the big differences here, Cyril was a lot faster to take up into Hive, and once he did, he prioritized Vipers, and once he got 2 Vipers out, Cyril, he was so aggressive, so assertive every time he pushed in. Remember, Cyril wasn't able to touch the economy of DNS for a long time, but he was able to reset the Colossus. He was able to reset the high-tech units, the Colossus count, the Immortal count, the Archon count. Every time Cyril pushed in, he would hyper-fixate on picking off those high-tech units. Here, it did seem like a Laser. Remember, he only made 1 Viper, he was never able to make use of it, and it looked like he was more fixated on crippling the economy. And to be fair, he did kill a mineral line, and he did kill a base, right? That was a good moment. That was a strong moment for a Laser. But he was also stuck with a very fragile army, getting into Ultras as well. And by the time he committed to that final push, DNS was already maxed out. And again, that was something that he was not able to accomplish. I don't think DNS was able to get more than 160 supply against Cyril in that first series. With the same playstyle, by the way. The same style from DNS, but he was never able to like exceed 160. He was always just stuck on a low army count because of the constant trades. Here, he was able to get into his final form, and DNS popping off. Oh, my apologies. There we go. DNS popping off, taking game 1. GG. Let's go. Storm into the slow zone. That was a beautiful moment as well. We had the combo of the slow. It's very similar to, like, you know, an army gets fungled and then you bile it. Here the army got slow zoned and then massive storms as well. Aye. Protoss players rejoice. That's that's the money shot for Protoss. That's the money shot. Here we go. I guess the other one would be like cutting up the army and trapping it with force fields and then having the storms as well. You got some options. But here we go. We're getting into game number 2, and spawning in the top right-hand corner of Hecate, we have the Polish Zerg player, the Red Zerg, representing Team Liquid. It is a Laser. And spawning. And yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, you know what it is. In the bottom left-hand corner, we have his opponent. We have the French Protoss leading the series 1-0, representing the Platinum Heroes. It is DNS. Here we go. And again, DNS has been a player that we've been keeping our eye on for this entire year. He's been popping off. He's been having some really good showings against players like Maru, even Cyril in WTL. Again, DNS very much so impressed us in the summer season. But now it's the winter season. And now on the Platinum Heroes, he's a little bit overshadowed by Firefly in current day. But it's great to see him popping off here in game 1. I'm curious to see how he plays it out here in game number 2, though. Very curious, because Hecate, these bases are a little bit more spread out. Going for this high-tech turtle style, I do think is going to be more difficult on Hecate, but we'll see. We shall see. For now, hatch, gas pool, standard opener out of a Laser. And we'll keep an eye on DNS. Again, if you remember, DNS did go Stargate opener into a 3rd, into a Robo, into a Forge plus Robo, delayed Twilight Council. That was the tell that it was going to be double Robo Colossus production very early on. So we'll see if he does something similar or if he does something else. The Overlord is moving out for a scout, just confirming the opener, confirming the standard play here of DNS. We'll see how a laser does respond to that. We'll see how a laser, how he adjusts as well as we ease our way into game number 2. There it is once again. Stargate opener for our Protoss. Should be for Oracles. The opener itself should be the same, as in Oracles into a third base. It's just afterwards. Like, the order of the tech is really going to give us a tell with how DNS wants to play this out, how he wants to approach this. He doesn't just always have to play that turtle style. He can be active, he can be aggressive. He has shown us that before. He can show us that again. But DNS is not typically one to all in. That's not really his kind of vibe. He's not one to like be hyper aggressive and, you know, go for like an 8-gate 3-base all in, or like a like an Oracle into a third base into Glaive Adepts. That's not really how he approaches this. But we'll see. Again, we'll keep an eye on him with what he brings to the table. First two Adepts are going to be moving out. They're going to be threading the mineral lines here of a laser. Queens are in position. We do commit to the shade, but Ling's are going to be able to keep up as well. The mineral line is safe and sound. We do pick off a couple of Lings at least, but only Lings. So we do force this back. Again, Adept's not quite finding any damage yet, but now the Oracles have hit the field. Now that the Oracles have arrived, we should be expanding and taking a third, and there we go. The probe is on the way, and we are opting to take the linear third base this time. The Oracle dives in. We get 1 drone kill, but that's a lot of hull damage. 2 workers for half our HP. DNS has to be very careful with this Oracle. It is very battered and bruised. We do at least confirm the third, and then get the hell out of there as we wait for the second Oracle to arrive. There we go. Third Oracle is on the way. Second Oracle is just chilling here at the third base to make sure that we're safe against any kind of Ling counterattack. The laser, meanwhile, still just focusing on droning. Hasn't really made many Lings to harass across the map or to threaten the bases of DNS. As we get another drone. We get 1 more worker, and we have our transition. This time we don't have a fast robo. It is a straight up Twilight Council in Forge. This looks like +1 in Blink. This could also be +1 in Charge, as we saw earlier today. DNS is willing to play Charged Archon instead. So he's got a couple of options. Does have some options. So everyone is going to be brought out. Ling's going to try to punish this or try to engage in some way, but the Oracles are kept at home, so DNS is pretty safe. Likewise, a laser. Oh, is going to be supply block for a moment there, working on a 4th base, droning up, taking his gases. We have +1 melee on the way. Ooh, I don't know if you heard that, but there's a thunderstorm outside. No, don't take away my internet, not again. Look, the last time there was a thunderstorm outside, it just completely cut off my internet, and it did disrupt the cast. So, bit of a PSA: if suddenly the internet dies, you know why? It's because lightning struck. It happened like 2 weeks ago. Oh my god, as we get a massive stage trap in the main. Oh, no reaction out of a laser here, as almost half, more than half even of the drones do get caught out. Big pick off there from DNS. Behind this, it is going to be not charged, but +1 and Blink. Gateway Explosion as well. A much more active style here from DNS, not the total style that we saw in game 1. Oracles, they do dive in between these bases. It's going to be 7 drone kills. Ooh. God, they're very nice, actually. The stasis trap +7 worker kills, and we're not done. Okay, now we should be done by now. Oracles are retreating, but all 3 of them do survive. Good damage done here by DNS, picking a laser apart. And a laser. He did invest into the Roach Warren. No Roach speed yet. He's amassing Lings. He's going pure Ling for the time being. This could just be a safety Roach Warren. Once the layer is done, we could start working towards Hydras instead. I'm curious how we're going to play this out. There we go. Roach speed is on the way. We'll be soon investing into Roaches. Our Lings have arrived. They have arrived. They get across the map. They get into that base with the whole position micro. Up. We save the shield battery. Not the cannon, but the shield battery is safe and sound. Lings are forced back. Quick moves there from DNS. That was smooth. That was good. Oh my god, 4th base is on the way, but here we go. A laser splits up his army. We got Lings on the left, we got Lings on the right. He invested so heavily into all these Lings. So far, they have not paid off. 26 more Lings in production. Infestation Mit's on the way for Hive Tech. A laser on somewhat of a 4-base economy. He did cut drones. A laser, instead of droning up to 80, he made all these Lings. He's trying to be active. He does get on top of some of these Stalkers. And he's coming in for the surround. The Oracles are going ham with these Lings. They do collapse on the Stalkers. We try to blink away. A lot of Stalkers are falling. Efficient trade for a laser, but alas, he does lose too many Lings. Looking at the resources lost, 73! That was 73 Lings for 10 Stalkers. Oh my god. These Oracles went ham. These Oracles, they haven't just been picking away at drones, but the Lings as well. My god. That was a brutal trade for a laser. And here we go. DNS pushing on forward. Remember as well that a laser, he did delay his droning in favor of making all those Lings. Like, that was lava that was spent on army instead of economy. A laser now getting up to 80 workers, but a delayed saturation. As Oracles are moving out, Hive is on the way. Oracles should confirm this. We'll see if they can get even more damage done. Meanwhile, back at home, we're taking up, working towards +2, charge. Now we have the Bay on the way for Colossus production. The DNS, despite getting Blink, he hasn't been too active. I mean, to be fair, he tried to be active, but a laser was there to meet him with all those Lings. Despite that, DNS has been trading well. And will soon be getting into that Robotech. Comes across the Ling army as DNS dances and keeps the attention of a laser here on the left-hand side. We have a massive Zealot counterattack, and we're getting into the middle line. We're getting into these drones. Workers are falling. DNS pushing forward with those Stalkers. He's pulling a laser apart. It's a couple of roaches, but the Bailings are done. Ooh. Big connections. Despite that, they do not kill too many workers. Meanwhile, across the map, looks like another Bailing run by. A laser loses 3 workers in his 5th base. Meanwhile, gets 6 probes across the map. Big Zealot warping into the main base. We have roaches in position. We are holding. Also, when it came to those Bailing connections earlier, they connected with the Stalkers, yes, but they didn't kill many of them. So many of them were left in the red or in the orange. They survived. So not the best use of Bailings. Despite that, a laser, he's up in supply. Has its roaches. Hive is done. Vipers are on the way. So we will have an answer for this Colossi. Colossi production has started, but we already have the Viper. We are already working on that. Laser trying to move out. Oh, connecting with that bile. Behind this, he's got a decent economy, sub 80, which is less than ideal. Supply blocks as well. 6 overlords on the way. Yeah, DNS, he does catch some of these units here. Bailing's going to be going down. We do pull back with the Colossus. Keep it alive. Meanwhile, at the same time, another Bailing counterattack getting into the middle line. 12 more workers go down. We need to leave something here. We need aye. As they get across the map, they're going for the base itself. They didn't get many workers. The hatchery is close to going down. DNS is going to keep pushing. +3 attack, Adrenal on the way. A laser once again going for a big counterattack here towards that 3rd base. At the same time, DNS going for those Zealots. They do engage with the Stalkers. Vipers pushing forward. So far, the Colossus, they do stand strong. Stasis traps, they do get triggered, and we should be able to get a yoink. We do get 1, and we get the 2nd. Both Colossi should be going down, just barely. At the same time, the Zealots, they did take down 1 hatchery, and they get into the main. Big warp in. And the laser, he turns around. He was so close to breaking this as well. We have a handful of Stalkers, but a laser is forced to turn back around. +3 is denied. It was just about to finish. We deny +3. We could maybe get on top of the spawning pool as well, but roaches, they have arrived. Zealots still camping that 3rd, or that 5th even. Zealots are being cleaned up. And even though a laser was able to reset the Colossus count, he wasn't quite able to capitalize on that. And we're rebuilding those Colossi, getting into +3. DNS, he has a better economy than a laser. I was concerned earlier because a laser, he was losing drones and he wasn't replacing them. Now falling behind economically. DNS pushing forward. A laser, he's up in supply, but this is inefficient supply. The soup does lie when roaches are involved. It's the numbers. The soup doesn't tell an accurate story there. As Zealots, they do get into the main base. They're going to be cleaned up. They get 3 more drones. The lasers are going to try and push on forward. Does trigger one of those stasis traps. So far, good blinks. Another safe trap does get baited by Lings. The Viper has arrived. We're looking for another abduct. Meanwhile, oh my god, a Zealot counterattack. 10 more drones go down at the same time. A laser dropping down to 60 workers. Now, he is super maxed. A laser does have a bank to work with, and a laser is still not droning, which is putting him all in. A laser, he's maxing out. He won't have an economy to sustain himself. Trying to reestablish some of these bases. DNS being up in bases compared to his opponents, which is something you don't see too often in a PvZ. Never something you want to see. Viper's coming in. We do get one. We get one, and we should get a second as well. Once again, both Colossi go down. But the stasis traps. They create a force field here working in favor of DNS. They deny this around. Gonna be able to back up. Behind this Zealot run by here towards the right-hand side. We just got this base up and running. A laser does have Banelings on the way. Roaches as well. Should be able to hold. Zealots come in, but we have an army to deal with this. At the same time, a laser pushing towards the north as well. Now with Archons. So far, one of them does get picked up. And yeah, we do see the laser. He's having a really hard time trading. He's got 0-0 roaches. He's got 2-0 lings. Again, +3 was denied earlier. That was a big moment. The ling buffer has been cleaned up. We're getting on top of the roaches. Expensive losses here for a laser. And he doesn't have the economy. He doesn't have the economy to sustain this. Lings are trickling on in, but here come the Zealots. The Banelings. We need good connections. We get a Blinding Cloud as well. The Zealots, they do pull back. They avoid the Banelings. Good control out of DNS, saving those Zealots. And now we can get on top of the army, and this is all that Laser has left. We do have reinforcements trickling in. The Lings, can we hold? The Colossus arrives, and the Viper went down earlier. The Colossus looking exposed, but GG gets called. A laser runs out of steam, and DNS, he takes the 2-0. GG. GG, well played. A big win there by DNS. And not playing the same style 2 games in a row. I appreciated that this time he was a little bit more active, did prioritize his Stalkers. His Colossi, they had their moments, but for the most part they were being shut down. What was really hurting a laser were the Zealot counterattacks. Initially they weren't doing too much, but eventually they were killing workers, they were killing bases, they were denying tech. Remember, they even denied +3. +3 did not finish at all that game, despite how quickly we got the Hive. And as a laser was losing workers, as he was losing bases, he wasn't able to replace them. He wasn't able to replace those workers over time. Things did snowball out of control in favor of the Protoss. And even though a laser was able to get into some bases every now and then, and there were some moments, right, where we saw some Baneling run-bys where we just barely missed, like Baneling counterattacks, getting into mineral lines. DNS, he was so quick to replace those probes. Something the laser just wasn't able to do in time on his side. And GG. GG, well played. DNS will take the 2-0. Big win for him. Again, like, even though he struggled against Cyril, I mean, it's Cyril. Who doesn't struggle against him? And here, DNS taking down a laser 2-0. A laser being, what, arguably top 3 Zerg player in Europe? Good stuff. Really good stuff here. GG. Proud of him, proud of him. Again, we've seen DNS's rise through the ranks this year, and yeah, really cool to see him continue that rise, and I'm sure we'll be seeing more of DNS in the future. But for now, we're getting ready for our next matchup, for our next series. It's going to be, we're taking a break from the Zergs. It's going to be a TVP between Dolan and Hearthstone. Let's go. We go. Stormed out of the game, stormed out of the internet. It's possible. Again, I don't think the mic is picking it up, but I can hear the thunder. I can hear the lightning. Aye. Not like this. Not sure if top 3 is correct. I'd rather have Lambo on 3. I think you could make an argument. I think you could probably securely say that Lambo and the Laser are number 3 and number 2, and you can like interchange them depending on like performances and depending on like the time of year. Sure, I can get behind that. I think I would still favor a laser over Lambo, but I mean, you can like persuade me like one way or another. Like for me, they're like 3 and 4, whichever. Like it's that. Regardless whether they're 3 or 4, really big win here for DNS. Really solid stuff. And again, here we go. We're going to be getting into our PVT. It's a Hearthstone versus Dolan. The Danger Dolan has returned, and game 1 is going to be on. So you have PVT in Australia right now. Yeah. They're winning, Papi. They're winning. I mean, look, Probe was the best player in Australia for a very long time, so it's very accurate that the Protoss is winning here. They always have, Papi. They always have. Smooch. But here we go. Spawning in the top right-hand corner of Alkione, we have the American Terran player representing the CranKy Ducklings. It is Dolan. This is in Australia. It is. Hold on. I'm living in Australia, Papi. What do you want from me? What do you want from me? That's why I'm always so tired, because most of these tournament casts that I do is like at like 3 or 4 or 5 a.m. It's brutal, Papi. It's brutal. But we cast everything. We do it all. We do our best. And spawning in the bottom left-hand corner, we have his opponent. We have the red Protoss player from the land of the Netherlands, representing Shopify Rebellion. It is Hearthstone. Ooh, and Dolan successfully hid that SCV here on the left-hand side. We go for the eBay block. Hearthstone just was unable to see this, so a nice little start here for Dolan. This should be forcing the unnatural natural out of Hearthstone, and Dolan is going to be looking to punish him. This looks like a Rax Expand setup, but with the completion of this eBay, this should be going into a faster factory, into Hellions, into Cyclones, into punishing Hearthstone. I say punishing him, trying to pull him apart here as he is forced to expand elsewhere. SCV comes in for a scout. Oh, a little bit of miscontrol out of Hearthstone, attacking his own probe. Ay. Oh, actually, Hearthstone refuses to expand elsewhere. He's going for the eBay. Okay. I mean, this does mean that the economy of Hearthstone is very delayed, but this is a much safer way to play. Much safer. If he did decide to expand here at his triangular third or his linear third base, then Dolan would have had his way with him. It would have been a much more difficult hold from Hearthstone. I'm sure he's aware of that, so he's willing to just delay, as he will eventually force the cancel on this eBay and throw down his expansion. And hopefully we get the cancel in time. Dolan, Bobby, up. Oh my god. Okay, we're good. We do cancel in time. Behind this, Rax expand into a 3 Rax. Okay, Dolan, you have my attention. We have our second Rax on the way. We should be seeing a third Rax as well. And this should be hitting a bit of a stim timing here from Dolan. This is ideal against a Stargate opener. We have yet to see our tech of choice though. Yet to determine whether this is a Stargate or a Twilight Council. Pylon is on the way. Adept is moving out to get some scouting information to even delay the expansion if possible. Dolan, we'll see if he can keep up here as the Adept is soon to arrive. And again, Hearthstone is expanding. There it is. It is going to be a Stargate opener. This is ideal for Dolan. Marines, they do get into that bunker. Adept, what do we see? We see a reactor Rax, not much else. For all he knows, this could be a 2-on-1. There could still be a factory behind this to get into a Widowmine, into an add-on slot with the starports. There are options. Hearthstone has to work with some incomplete information here, as he has seen purely Marine, but again, does not guarantee that it is a 3 Rax. Second Adept has arrived. We're going to be threatening that mineral line, and we should... Okay, we don't commit to the shade. We do force Dolan back. Oof, 1 Marine gets picked off. Every Marine does count. We need to preserve them. That's the power of a 3 Rax. So for those wondering, basically we're going to be building up a very heavy bio army. We're going to be hitting a timing with Stim. This is going to hit before... Oh no! Jeez. That was close. This is going to be hitting without medevac, so there's going to be no sustain with this army, but this is designed to just catch your opponent off guard and to just snowball out of control. The reason why this is ideal against a Stargate opener is because Phoenixes do not really help against this. Phoenixes, they can pick up like 1 Marine at a time, and there are going to be so many Marines to deal with, so this is going to be a difficult defense here for Hearthstone. Not impossible, just difficult. As the Adept does actually shade into the natural. 1 SCV goes out. Oh. Almost get a third. SCVs are saved, the Oracle goes in, the Marines are distracted, and we get into the main base, we get into the mineral line, SCVs are going down, and we get a full scout as well. We get eyes on the factory that is not done. We haven't seen the third racks, we only saw 2, but the fact that the factory isn't complete is a massive tell. Hearthstone knows. Immediately, shield battery. Shield battery is on the way, Void Ray in production. As I mentioned before, Phoenixes do not help. Phoenixes would kill you. Would kill the Protoss if he committed to them, which is why he's switching into Void Rays. We need as much as we can to defend, to shut down this bio push. We have a sentry for force fields, another shield battery here at the third base. 7 SCVs went down. Dolan is pushing. He is spotted here by the Adept. Second shield battery is on the way. Hearthstone going to try to hold on to his third base. And does see this army ahead of time. Dolan, he's got 1, maybe 2 stims in this army. The force fields, they do cut up the Marines. We do focus on 1, we focus on 2 of those shield batteries to dive into the natural, but we have another shield battery set up and an overcharge as well. If Hearthstone didn't have this shield battery, he would have been in some trouble. We can see Dolan trying to drag out the army out of range of the shield battery. Does get a sentry, but he's running out of steam. He's running out of Marines, and Hearthstone holds. Hearthstone does hold. Things got a little bit dicey there. You know, Dolan, he was able to shut down the first wave of shield batteries, but there was another shield battery behind it, and Dolan loses almost everything here in the retreat. And Hearthstone, he's sitting pretty. He is far ahead. He's got 20 plus workers on his opponents. We have a third base, we have tech, we got the Twilight Council on the way, the Forge as well. We're perfectly safe and sound, and Dolan is in quite an amount of trouble here. Now, a 3 racks isn't meant to kill, but it's meant to trade well, right? And if you can't trade well, then maybe you can preserve your Marines and go for a later timing. But with the way that Dolan played that out, he was very committed, and it just was not worth it. And now, the drop play is upon us, and there is a lot of pressure on Dolan to make some magic happen here. And it's possible, right? He could maybe try to slip into the main base, or slip into the natural, get into a mineral line, kill like 10 probes. That'll be the ideal. If something like that were to happen, then Dolan still can recover, of course. But the other option, as we throw down another 2 Raxes, is a 2-base all-in. And this is looking like a 2-base all-in. 2 more Raxes on the way, which means Dolan, he's going to be pressuring with this. He shouldn't commit, and we're building up towards a boy pool. We should be pulling some SCVs and committing across the map. Oh boy. Here we go. 4th base is on the way for Hearthstone. Again, still no 3rd CC from Dolan. His drop is going to be spotted. We're investing into Liberators of all things as well. The problem is that we're on Alkione. Like, this is a very long map. We can see that Hearthstone even has control of the Zolnaga. So it's so difficult to pull off an all-in just because of the points of elevation, the long rest distance by ground, the defender's advantage. Shield batteries, cannons are on the way. Hearthstone a little bit afraid. I don't blame him. Just wants to make sure that he's safe and sound. Dolan pushing forward, just rallying everything across the map. He hasn't pulled the SCVs, so he's going to be maintaining his economy here. Just committing with his ground army. Waiting for those Liberators. So far, he hasn't lost anything major yet. The Liberators, they have arrived. The freedom is here. At the same time, though, Zealot counterattack across the map. SCVs are going to be going down. Good force fields. We just sliced up some of those Marines and Marauders. And a massive warping into the main base. The boys may as well have been pulled because SCVs are going down. It's 10 dead workers. We get into the main base. They have to turn around and fight with the Zealots. Workers are going down. Dolan completely all in at this point. It's all or nothing. Never goes up. Takes out a Widowmine. Like, these Liberators are doing a great job here at just creating room for the Terran. The base is going to go down as well. Not a bad push. Unfortunately, everything's dying. Unfortunately, 30 dead SCVs. Like, there's no turning back from this. We got to commit. We got to go. Overcharges pop, keeping the Nexus alive, but just a little bit longer. Buying some time. Prismatic Alignment is popped as well, and Dolan is being forced back. He's running out of steam, running out of units. GG gets called. And Hearthstone will take game number 1. Whew. GG. Oh my god. Again, just a really crucial scout. It came down to the scouting of Harsum. Very important that he got into the main base, that he realized what was happening. As soon as he realized that it was the 3 racks, immediately shield batteries are thrown down. Void Ray was started. Sentry as well. Harsum, he had time to prepare. And even in that time of preparation, things got a little bit dicey, right? Dolan, he was able to dive into the 3rd base. He was able to make things a little bit close there. Thankfully, Harsum did have a shield battery at the natural with an overcharge, and that allowed him to stand his ground. And in a world where if there wasn't a shield battery at the natural, maybe Dolan cleans up the army. Maybe he's able to trade it more efficiently. Maybe not kill Harsum, but maybe do enough to even things up. You know, could have seen a different outcome there. But again, Harsum very prepared and does shut it down. GG, Harsum does take a lead in the series. But now we're ready for game number 2. Número 2. Here we go. Vámonos, buddy, vámonos. Gonna be on Oceanborn. And spawning in the bottom right hand corner, of Oceanborn, we have the blue Protoss player representing Shopify Rebellion from the land of the Netherlands. Up 1-0 in this best of 3 series, it is Harsum. And spawning in the top left-hand corner, we have his opponent. We have the American Terran, the Red Terran, representing the CranKy Ducklings. He's one of our own. It is Dolan. The Danger Dolan himself. Ooh, trying to be a little bit cheeky there in that last game. Unsuccessful in the end. Again, he just wasn't able to keep the build hidden, or wasn't able to pull off the execution either. But now we find ourselves in another game, and yeah, we'll see what Dolan has in store for us. We'll see how he can pop off. Again, Dolan's best matchup is TVP, and we've seen him take it to players like Trigger. We've seen him take it to players like Maxpax. Dolan, if not taken seriously, can catch you off guard. Speaking of, Harsum is scouting for proxies. I think a wise choice. Is just going to be quickly checking here his triangular 3rd before moving out, making sure that everything is safe and sound. Yeah, even sending down his 2nd probe. So, fun fact, this probe here was actually looking for an eBay block. It was looking for an SCV that would have been coming back in for an engineering base. So, Harsum playing very safe this time, especially after the eBay block of game number 1. So, very safe and secure play here from Harsum. Across the map, double gas. It is going to be a double gas opener. This means a delayed CC. This means a faster factory from Dolan. Going to be a much more aggressive opener here. Now, with this faster factory, this doesn't have to be an all-in. This should be leading into a natural base. But I wouldn't put it past Dolan to go for something like a 1-base all-in. It's very unorthodox. We rarely see 1-base all-ins in this matchup. We see it from players like every now and then from like Gumiho. We've seen Oliveira 1-base all-in before against Protoss as well. But it's very uncommon. Very uncommon. As we see the Reaper looking for the probe did escape towards the south. Did escape the clutches of the Reaper. As we're just going to be checking here towards the right-hand side, looking for a proxy gateway. Don't quite come across anything. And there it is. We do have a Rax into factory into CC. So, yeah, we're good. We're good. We are expanding. Behind this, Harsum once again going for a Stargate opener. Very standard play here. Very by the book. Very meta. Should be Stargate into an Oracle or Phoenix just to get some scouting information, just to harass even as well. As the Reaper is going to be zoned away. And he wants that probe though. He should be able to get it. Up! Up! Oh my god, just barely does pick off that worker, but Adepts, they have arrived. And they're going to be punishing this Reaper. The KDA charge not going to be good enough. The Reaper does go down. Ay, ay, ay. As Dolan, he's going for a TVT opener. Interesting. Dolan, a bit of a coffee build variation. He committed here to go up to 3 Reapers and 2 Hellions. It's been a while since we've seen this. Unfortunate that he lost his first Reaper, but this is designed to get damage done. And here we go. He has been revealed. Adept goes down. We should be, we don't have a full wall off, but we should be getting ready for it. The goal here is for Dolan to get into a mineral line and to focus on probes. Immediately, Harsum, he starts working in SimCity. He's walling off. Yeah, really good reaction here. Again, with this heavy Hellion and Reaper commitment, he just wants to make sure he doesn't have to worry about it. So he just fully walls off at the natural and is safe. So again, really good scouting. Really good scouting from Hearthstone to recognize what was happening. Meanwhile, we're actually doubling down. Instead of committing into more Hellions, we're going into Cyclone production. Okay. This is new. The Hellion Reaper opener, old school, but now with the new Cyclone, we are incorporating them as well. We're reinforcing with Cyclones, going towards Interference Matrix as well on the Raven. Interesting choice. Hellions are moving out to scout, trying to get a read on what's going on. Dolan hasn't seen much. He hasn't seen the Phoenixes either, but he does see the full wall off. He's aware. Sees the Robo on the low ground. And upon seeing these Adepts, I should be aware as well that it's going to be a Stargate opener instead of Blink. Otherwise, we would have already seen some Blink Stalk or some Stalkers here as well. There we go. Phoenixes are moving out. It's going to be on Dolan to protect this Raven as well. He needs to preserve this Raven. Once Hearthstone realizes what's going on, that's going to be like his big kind of pick-off units, if possible. It's going to be what he wants to die for. Phoenixes are moving in. We do have a second Raven. Okay. Plenty of Cyclones in position to defend, though. As we are getting into mech. We didn't just make Cyclones just for it, but there we go. We're committing here. 2 more factories on the way. The racks only used for add-ons, and we have mech against Protoss. Okay, so we have seen this work. We have seen Mass Cyclone or this like battle mech composition kill Protoss before, especially early on in the patch, but this was very quickly phased out. Again, like, it's really difficult to get this going just because if your opponent realizes what's happening and if they invest into heavy Immortals early on and heavy charge lots, then they can have their way with this army. Like, it's difficult to really get the ball rolling. So we'll see. I'm ready for it. We have Blue Flame on the way. Tank production has commenced. Cyclones here to reinforce, but yeah, we're building up that tank count. Like, the problem with mech in TVP is that, like, just immortal charge lot just shreds through it. It's not even close. Like, it's brutal. We've seen mech players even up in army supply, even pre-siege in a defensive position, crumble before these like massive gateway pushes, and well, we'll see. We'll see if Dolan can make some magic happen. Now, Phoenix is going to be keeping him pinned on 2 bases. Tank count is getting up and up, getting higher. We actually saw this in DreamHack. In ESL Masters Winter in the regionals. Dolan actually did this on Alcyone. We casted it. It was Dolan versus Nina. Dolan versus Nina in the Americas regionals, where he did something very similar. I think it was the qualifiers or maybe the regionals themselves. And Dolan did take a game. He did beat Nina with this. But we'll see if we can pull it off against Hearthstone, because we are building up towards one big push. This is mech, yes, but it's a 2-base all-in. It's a 2-base all-in variation here of mech. And yeah, the boys are being pulled. Here we go. So much firepower in this army. How many tanks? 4 tanks, 8 Cyclones, 2 Liberators, and 2 Ravens. The Phoenixes, they do miss this, but there's Immortals waiting on top of the... Oh my god, on top of the ramp. I don't think we've seen just how dedicated we are. I don't think we've seen the SCVs. We go for the scan. We do get eyes on the army. Disruptor has arrived. Never goes off. Doesn't connect. Liberators, they do siege on forward here. Dolan working his way in between the 3rd and the natural. Tanks are sieging. Good force fields. But the disables, we disable every single Immortal. Oh my god. The Immortals are disabled. Shield battery is going to be going down. The Cyclones are still stuck behind this. But they're pushing on forward. The disables are running out though. We are breaking into the natural. Liberators repositioning, but we still have 3 Immortals. We get on top of the Disruptor. Oh, Disruptor goes down. Big pick off there by Dolan. And he's looking to get on top of the production. The Robo is exposed. Can we pull this off? The Phoenixes, they're catching reinforcements. Tanks! They get 1 tank. They could get a 2nd tank as well. Nova does connect. Another tank barely makes it back at home, but the Cyclones are out of position. Cyclones are out of position. The Ravens are going down one after another. These Phoenixes are the MVP. There's no answer. There's no answer to the Phoenixes. Again, the Cyclones not where they need to be. Not expecting to counterattack the flank of Phoenixes. With that, every Cyclone is going down, and the Mass Phoenix is going to completely shut down this army. Nothing shoots up. Hellions, they try to dive into the natural base. These turrets are too late. We needed these turrets earlier. If only we had them a little bit earlier. GG gets called, and Hearthstone will shut this down. We'll take the 2-0 win. GG. Oh my god, GG, well played. But that was so close. Again, if we just had that stack defense, we just either had the wherewithal to throw down turrets or to leave the Cyclones with the main army as well, one or the other, then we may have been able to hold on to that position. We may have seen a very different game there. That was close. Like that, there was potential. There was a lot of potential with that attack. It did catch Hearthstone off guard, but alas, was barely not good enough. GG, well played. Hearthstone will take the series 2-0. GG. But also, shout out to Dolan. He's the only player, if you guys want to emulate it, I'm sure you'll find a lot of success on the ladder yourselves. I mean, it's worked against 6K players before, but I haven't seen anyone else do this. This build, this 2-base mech all-in against Protoss, I've only seen Dolan whip this out, and clearly it has potential. It almost worked here against Hearthstone. I haven't seen many other Terrans adopt it. Maybe Hero Marine? Hero Marine, he sounds like the kind of player that would embrace something like that. I know he's spoken to Dolan about builds before. He's been corrupted by the Dolan in the past. It's happened. Regardless, GG, well played. Hearthstone does take it. Catching up in the chat. I was like, this looks super familiar to the series Dolan and Hearthstone played in HomeStory Cup. Then I saw the title. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I mean, these games that were played a little while ago, so it's possible that you may have already seen them. I wasn't able to stay up long enough to watch HomeStory Cup. As you can imagine, watching from Australia, it's brutal. It's brutal trying to stay up for HomeStory Cup. Aye. Which state might I ask? Victoria? Why are you lying? Wait, what? Oh wait, no, sorry, that was Emperor Fubel. Yeah. Fair enough. Kuro and Yako honorary Aussies. I didn't know if you were speaking for me. I'm from New South Wales, if you're curious. New South Wales. Most of the Australian scene is in Melbourne, unfortunately, which is Victoria. Like Asher's in Melbourne, or Victoria, Chappie, Seether, Pez, anyone who's anyone. Probe as well. A lot of the scene is down there in Victoria. There's only a handful of people here in Sydney, in New South Wales. It's like me, it's Vivid, Pig, and I think that's it. Like maybe Livy B, but like most of the pro gamers are elsewhere. Most of the content creators are here. I guess that, yeah. But yeah. I'm so lonely, Papa, so lonely. If there was a reason to move to Victoria, it would be just to meet up with all the other Australians. Like Oreo's there as well. Oreo's in Melbourne. Yes, shaking my head. Everyone's there. Aye. Come to Mel's, Bobby. I know. Nothing shoots up. It's a sequel to Don't Look Up. Aye. My most important Australia fact is that I will never not wear steel-toed boots here. I mean, here it's summer. It's very hot and very humid in Australia at the moment, or at least here in New South Wales. That's why it was storming. Like it was really hot in the day and then storm at night, so very humid. But it's summer for December, for Christmas and all that stuff. And because it's summer as well, this is like prime time for like the wildlife to act up because it's so hot. And mate, the amount of spiders that have entered this house, I'm talking like big like over the past like 2 weeks, like whenever I'm casting, I always have to like constantly like look around just in case and then deal with that. I think aye. Specifically in the summer, Poppy. That's when they're active. It was last night when I was casting. Like I caught something out of the corner of my eye, and there was like a black spider. It was a small black spider. It was like maybe like this big, like just like scuttling across the carpet. I'm like, oh my god. Yeah, that's summer, buddy. We're all acting up. Anyway, final series. -3 degrees. Yeah, I know. In Europe, it's like cold and snowing and stuff like that. I understand. Or I guess in America as well. Northern hemisphere. I got hit by a cyclone today. Este werehog. True. I don't know if I could. I don't know if I would want to live in the northern part. I was just about to dox you. Este werehog. I don't know if I would want to live in the northern parts of Australia, just because again, for those who don't know, we do have a rainforest, and storms can get quite intense over there. Take care, werehog. Take care. You made for a reasonably chill casting while I chilled with insomnia here in Canada. Oh, get some rest, Papi. Get some rest. I know my casting is chill. I've been told that it's like the opposite, where I'm like, I keep people awake. Drop that too hot. It can be very hot. Definitely. Meanwhile, we're getting ready for our final series. GG, of course, Hearthstone does take the 2-0 over Dolan. And now we're getting ready for our final best of 3 here of the night. We're getting ready for Cyril versus Dolan. Let's go. It all ends with the Duckling up against the Finnish Phenom. I'm ready for it. I saw someone earlier. Dolan, he's back with the Ducklings. Yeah. Dolan, he rejoined the Ducklings a while ago now, like a month ago, maybe a month ago. He was repping the Ducklings in HomeStory Cup. He was repping the Ducklings in the ESL qualifiers, and ESL qualifiers in IM ESL Masters. That's it. God, it's all the same thing. In ESL Masters, and he's also going to be repping the Ducklings at DreamHack Atlanta, which is in a couple of days this weekend. Quack, Papi, quack. But here we go. We're getting ready for our final series, for our final best of 3. Game 1 going to be on Hardlead. Huntsmans are friends. Huntsmans are terrifying, but they are friends. Like they're typically considered like, you know, if you can handle it, you can, have one like outside around the house. Leave them alone, and they'll look after you. Yeah. Ideally not in the house, though. Ideally. But here we go. To have that fresh series, Game 1 on Hardlead. We're going in. We are diving on in. We had one in our shower door frame. We called it Martha. Oh. I don't know if I could handle that. I don't know if I could handle being watched while in the shower like that, But some people like it, though. Some people like it. I understand. And here we go. Spawning in the top left-hand corner of Hardlead, we have the Finnish Zerg player. The best Zerg in Europe, arguably the best player in the world. Representing Team Basilisk, it is Cyril. And spawning in the bottom right-hand corner, we have his opponent. We have the American Terran player, the blue Terran, representing the CranKy Ducklings. It is Dolan. See the chat. Did Dolan beat Hearthstone? Game 2 was. I mean, I'm sure Game 2 may have inspired some people in the chat as well. Maybe. Two base mech all in, Papi, and oh my god! Hello, Dolan. We're going for a 2-Rax Reaper, question mark. A little bit perplexed just because we're opening up 2-Rax, but we're going to be hiding the second Rax in the natural base, and we're not taking gases, by the way. Without any gases, this is crazy. Are we going to see more Raxes? Are we going to, like, 4 Rax? I mean, I'm curious. As the first Rax is completing here, and we should be able to get into Marine production early on. Marines on the way. Ideally, these are designed to shut down this Overlord to try to keep Cyril in the dark. Gas is now on the way. Dolan, the builds, they're coming out. I'm ready for it. Oh my god. Okay, but again, a lot of this is going to be heavily reliant on trying to deny the scout as the Overlord is making its way in. Dolan, he's looking for it, going towards that triangular third base when alas, the Overlord is coming in towards the natural. There is going to be a Marine here to shut this down. The other Marine coming back home here, but there's a pillar and the Overlord should be able to escape. We do lift the racks, though. We will shut this down. The Overlord is going to be shut down. We are expanding behind this. This is so weird. Okay. Interesting. As yeah, the Overlord will fall. This will supply block Cyril. Let's go. Forcing him to make 2 more Overlords behind this. Getting into our 2-rack setup here. Okay. Interesting. There we go. There's a 3rd racks. Pretty sure this... I think this is going to lead into a 4-racks. Into a 4-racks 2-base all-in. That would make the most sense here from Dolan. As the Marines, they have found another Overlord. Oh, getting a second. Supply blocking Cyril once again. We're finding some damage here. Not too bad. Yep, and there it is. There is the 4th rack. So there's going to be a 2 racks into a 4 racks, 2-base all-in. I mean, I say 2-base all-in. This doesn't have to be an all-in. We have seen Bjorn go into 4 axes before and transition out of it. But what I should maybe say is this is committed. This is very committed here. Very similar to what we saw against Harstem's game number 1. We're going to be amassing a massive Marine army. This is going to be hitting with Stim. This is going to be hitting before Medevacs, before factory production. And this needs to trade. If this doesn't do enough damage, then Dolan will be behind. That's maybe what I should say. Because you can transition out of this into a factory, into a starport, into a 3rd TC. That is all well and good. As long as either you trade well or you preserve your Marines. It's one or the other. Meanwhile, back at home, Hatch Gas Pool Opener out of Cyril. He's getting his 3rd base up and running. There are some Lings being active on the map here looking for Marines. And Dolan has to be careful. The last thing Dolan can afford right now is to lose a big chunk of units. He has to preserve these Marines and wait for Stim. Behind this, Cyril going for a safety Baneling Nest. A sub 4-minute Baneling Nest. So Cyril... he is respecting this quite a bit. He knows something is wrong. He doesn't know what, but he knows that something feels wrong here. For all he knows, this could be a 2-on-1 Hellbat all-in, or like a Hellbat push. So the Baneling Nest makes plenty of sense. Banelings, they won't help too much against a 4-axe, but it is a very safe way to play. Again, because Cyril hasn't seen the main, for all he knows, it could be Hellbats. It could be, I mean, it could honestly even be BC. There we go, factory on the way. Cyril just going to be making workers back at home. He's fanning out his Lings to catch any kind of move out. It's going to be on Cyril to react, to respond. Here we go. Stim is finishing up. Combat Shields is still a ways away. Still needs a little bit more time, but Dolan is getting ready for his push. So the Marine cannon has been spotted. Immediately, Lings are being produced. Big scout there from Cyril. Nothing but Lings here in production. Queens as well. We're going to need them on the front lines. Now, Dolan knows he got scouted. Do we commit? Yeah, so far we are. No shot of Link slips in. Link somehow slips into the main base. We get confirmation that it is the 4-rack, so we know 100%. We also see the follow-up here with that factory on the way. There's an eBay for +1. Cyril even getting ready for a surround here. Oh god, and Dolan, he's in the danger zone right now. He's pushing onto creep. Cyril getting ready to come in from behind. And if he does, these Banelings, they will connect. There's no way out for these Marines. It's one way here as we dive into the mineral line. We dive on top of the Queens. The Lings, they're coming for a surround. So far, they don't engage. Good stutter stepping here from Dolan. Up with the Banelings. Oh, they crash in. They crash in. They shut down the army. Big connections. And Cyril does clean this up. And Dolan wasn't able to trade well enough. Looking at the units lost tab, he killed one Queen. Only one Queen, and then traded with the Ling Bane. Now Cyril is perfectly fine, and Dolan, where do we go from here? We could go one of two ways. We can start up a 3rd TC and expand, or we can double down. And seeing a 5th Rax, it's looking like we're doubling down. We'll see. We'll see if we commit here. The longer this goes on without a 3rd TC, the more all in we are. And again, the Marine count was reset. We have to start off from scratch. +1 attack is on the way. Tank count is getting higher and higher, but Cyril, he is free to drone. He's free to saturate his 3rd, I should say. He's on 60 workers. He can go up to 66. He's got a 4th base on the way. Creep is looking good. The Queen count is looking healthy for Cyril. He's looking in control. We have the lair, bailing speed and production, +1 carapace as well. All things that we need against a biocentric army. And I still do not see a third. We do have a drop moving out, designed to, I'm imagining, just get a little bit of damage done, poke away at the creep, keep Cyril busy, maybe distract him. And when we do eventually push, I wonder, do we even pull the boys? Like, pulling the boys does work against roach compositions, not so much against Ling Bane though. So we do stem on forward, we do threaten some of those queens. Just grab creep. Cyril taking a 5th base amidst all of this. We're taking a 5th. Overseer comes in, and this is going to confirm the fact that there is no 3rd base. This is a 2-base all-in, and Cyril has to focus on nothing but Ling Bane, and that should be enough to keep him safe. Ling Bane as well as creep. Creep is going to be crucial as well. As Dolan is pushing. We got 3 tanks. We got a 4th tank on the way. We have Liberators on the way behind this as well. At the same time, Cyril getting ready for a big Ling counterattack to catch reinforcements to even get into the natural base. Cyril, he does evacuate this 4th. Hatchery is going to go down. Meanwhile, the wall is a wall. Dolan, he's ready back at home. But that just means that these Lings can come in for a surround. Oh boy. Cyril, he can collapse on this position. Just waiting for his opponent to push a little bit further into creep before we commit. Yeah, a couple of Banelings being spread out as well. And it's going to come down to one big fight, and here comes that surround. We're committing! Oh, not quite. Oh god, a lot of Lings do get shaved off. A good moment for Dolan, actually. He did pull back just in time, playing very safe, and yeah, he does split up his army. Oh no! But the reinforcements, they do get caught out. Ay, ay, ay. Not like this. Liberators repositioning. Tanks as well. At least the tanks are saved. But Cyril is just buying so much time to just keep on building up that army. How many tanks? We're up to 5 tanks now. And there is still no 3rd base. We're still committed. We're still all in. It's all or nothing here for Dolan. Now against Ling Bane, he could still trade efficiently. Like, he could still take a fight. But it is going to come down to one big fight. Cyril once again trying to catch some reinforcements. Dolan rotating over towards the right-hand side. Banelings, they do roll in. Liberators not siege. We crash into the natural base of Lings. They get on top of the army. The tank has siege, but it's so exposed. The boys are being pulled. And if Dolan wasn't all in before, he's all in now. Like, he's forced to pull the trigger onto creep, and Cyril was lying in wait. Was waiting for him. And he has just too much Ling Bane, too much of an army. He swallows up Dolan. Just wasn't ready for this. Wasn't sieged up. GG gets called, and Cyril will take game number 1. GG. An interesting build from Dolan as well. Going 2 racks into eventually the 4 racks build. Or 2 racks opener eventually into the 4 racks. Had potential, yes, but if you remember, Solar saw everything. I mean, Solar? Not that. I keep calling him Solar. Cyril saw everything. He was able to confirm what was coming his way. He got a Ling into the main. He saw all the Marines as he was moving out, and Cyril was just playing safely to begin with. I mentioned this before, but very often when he's up against, you know, a player that is considered to be a little bit lower tier, Cyril, he is willing to just be a little bit inefficient and just play safe. Just play it very safe, not be overconfident. Cyril isn't typically one to make that mistake, and willing to play, again, even inefficiently, just to be secure here in the early to mid game. Just to get into a solid mid game as well. We saw some of that against DNS earlier. And with that, we're now getting into game number 2. Oh boy, gonna be on Alcyone. Let's go. Here we go. Better safe than sorry. Yeah, 100%. 100%. And here we go. We're getting into game number 2 here. And spawning in the bottom left-hand corner of Alcyone, we have the Finnish Zerg player leading the series 1-0, representing Team Basilisk. It is Cyril. ZVZ the exception. This is true. This is we don't have to talk about the ZVZ for so it's fine. It's fine. And spawning in the top right hand corner, we have his opponent. We have the American Terran player, the blue Terran, representing the CranKy Ducklings. It is Dolan. Here we go. So now Cyril, he's going for, oh my god, Papi. Cyril is going to be the aggressor, going gas first, going for a gas pool opener. Cyril, he's looking to turn the tables on his opponents, going for a very aggressive opener. This is looking like a roach rush out of Cyril. Meanwhile, Dolan is going a 2-Rax Reaper back at home. A much more stand. Oh, never mind. This is going to be an interesting one. So this is going to be 3-Rax Reaper. Very aggressive opener here from Dolan. I was going to say this is not all in. Wait. Never mind. No Reapers, no gases. We're going 4-Rax again, but in a different manner. I think I'm worried for Dolan. Okay, so I assumed it was going to be 2-Rax Reaper, but again, there's no gases being taken. It's 4-Rax Mass Marine here from Dolan, papi. Ay, ay, ay. Up against what should be roaches. This could be a Bane bust as well. I'm curious what we're using the gas for. No, we're pulling out of gas. We're getting link speed, and we're staying in gas here, so we have options. Once we get 50 gas, we could go for a Baneling Nest. Oh my god. Regardless, very aggressive build here from Cyril. And a Bane bust would be ideal. Like, there's no Hellions to deal with it, no Widow Mines, no factory-based production. Show us where you're spending your gas. Lings have arrived. So, okay, so the SCV Scout does confirm the late hatchery. So, Dolan knows it's at least a pull first. He knows it's at least a safe opener, maybe an aggressive opener. Dolan, he's still piecing it together. But he's all in. So this is just a really weird dynamic. Like, he's not taking a natural base, he's just massing Marines. His goal here is to deny the Overlord over and over again, and he is forcing it back. I'm still perplexed as to what this gas is for. Okay, we're pulling out. Okay. Cyril looks like he was leaving himself open to the possibility of teching up, but no, he pulls out a gas. Just link speed for now. Oh my god! What? Overlord speed. For scouting? I guess so. We're pulling the boys though. Overlord speed, it's not going to help. Because the boys are being pulled and we're completely all in. But again, we already have queens on the way because of the more aggressive opener. We already have link speed as well. Here we go. Queens are being brought forward. Lings are amassing. Speedlings at that. We do confirm this. He does see the SCVs. And we just evacuate the natural. Wise choice here. Cyril just giving up on his natural base. Oh, engaging a little bit too soon. Lings are being forced out. Forced back even. They're catching reinforcements though. They're trying to. They get a Marine. And they're going to get even more. Big pickoffs there from Cyril. Dolan. He's going to get a kill in this natural, but it doesn't really matter. He was trying to surround those eggs. The Lings, they get out. The Lings, they do get out, and Dolan has to go straight for the kill, straight for the main base. Spine crawlers are on the way. Boys are being pulled. Boys are being pulled. The Lings, they come in for a surround, and Dolan, there's no way out. Not anymore. The Queens adding so much DPS to this as well. 3 Queens are here. The SCVs go down, and Dolan gets forced out of the main base. Cyril even having the confidence to just rally his spine crawlers down to the low ground as well. He knows he's already shut this down, and Dolan has nothing left. He is down to 3 SCVs and 1 mule. No economy. GG gets called, and Cyril will take the series 2-0, taking down Dolan. GG. GG, well played. Cyril, I'm pretty sure his initial plan was to rush into something more aggressive, and that changed when he saw the 2-Rax Marine opener, and then he's like, I eventually pulled out of gas. A little bit of wasted resources there when it comes to mining that gas, but it was fine. You know, he had faster queens, had all those lings, dealt with it quite nicely. And yeah, that was interesting out of Dolan. That was a 4-Rax 1 base all in. Let's go, Papi. Let's go. With pulling the boys as well. You don't see that too often. Again, if his opponent had gone for a hatch first, then maybe we would have seen a different outcome. Maybe we would have seen Cyril in a little bit more trouble. But because of the earlier sporting pull from Cyril, we were able to see, again, just a stronger defense overall. Cyril, I don't think, was really intending to run across a 1 base all in, but things kind of like the stars aligned. The stars aligned Cell shut it down without too much issue. GG. GG, well played. Congratulations to Cyril. My condolences to Dolan, but I appreciate that he's been having fun. Dolan, he's been whipping out the Dolan builds and at times almost succeeding. GG. Ah, let's go. Oh, and with that, I believe we are done. We are done for the night. We are done for the evening here. Again, we have just been covering some of the group stage of HomeStory Cup. Quite a lot of games were covered, and we can quickly go over them while we have some time here. Here we go. We just wrapped up 6 best of 3s. We started the night with Cyril versus DNS in a ZVP, followed by a Laser versus Dolan, then leading into Harsem versus Fiant. Fiant forcing Harsem into the ace match. You love to see it. Really great to see Fiant pop off. DNS 2-0'd a Laser, a massive result. I was concerned, especially with what transpired between Cyril and DNS, and we saw a very similar playstyle between DNS and the Laser. Like, when it comes to how DNS approached that matchup, but DNS had so much more success against a Laser, and DNS was looking strong in that series. So again, really popping off and proving himself here. He may fall to Cyril, but mate, it's Cyril, you know? Like, it takes a very special kind of player to bring him down. Or a Zerg player. But... So DNS having a pretty good showing against a Laser. Then we saw Harsem and Cyril versus Dolan, and Dolan may not have been able to take any games there, but again, had some very creative builds here that at times almost worked as well. Again, just very fortunate. I say very fortunate, just very apt scouting from his opponents, from both Harsem and Cyril, to realize and recognize what was going on. Very important when dealing with a player like Dolan. Again, Dolan, he's one of the more aggressive, creative, cheesy players out there, willing to think outside the box and come up with his own builds. And at times, he's able to pop off and take down some big names. Almost did today, but not quite able to. Not quite able to in the end. Regardless, entertaining games were had. GG. GG, well played. And that is going to be our broadcast for the night. And we're going to be back tomorrow. We're going to be back tomorrow with the remainder of Group A. As I can quickly switch over and bam, oh, there we go. This is going to be the second half that we cast tomorrow. We're done for now, pal. We're reaching that 4-hour mark. We're good for today. We're good. But tomorrow it's going to be a Laser versus Harsem, Cyril versus Harsem, Dolan versus DNS, Cyril versus the Laser in a ZVZ, Harsem versus DNS in a PvP. So the mirror matchups are upon us tomorrow, and we end the night with Fiant versus Dolan as well. So those are tomorrow's matches. So make sure you are a part of that. Some people were asking before, aren't there any live events going on over the next couple of days? You know, where's Kung Fu Cup, which we usually cover on Wednesdays? Kung Fu Cup is on hiatus. It's on hiatus because of DreamHack. DreamHack Atlanta is this weekend. So because of that, WTL and Kung Fu Cup are going to be taking a week off. So because we're not going to be covering Kung Fu Cup and World Team League over the next couple of days, we're going to be filling it in with HomeStory Cup replays instead. So that's what we're going to be covering. Again, I did miss out on these games live just because it's awful time for Australia. Awful time for Australia. So I'm more than happy to catch up with all these replays. And again, if you missed out on like the first couple of days of HomeStory Cup, then we got you covered. I won't be casting the playoff bracket. Often than not, you've most likely already seen those matches live, and I do recommend checking out at least the final day of HomeStory Cup for those games. Always a lot of fun seeing all these players get involved, and all these players even jump on the casting couch and add their insight and have their banter. But we will be covering the group stage here on the CranKy Ducklings. Let's go. So Group A this week, in the coming weeks and coming days, coming weeks even, we'll be covering Group B, Group C, and Group D as well. Especially over January, we have a lot of free days. A lot of our tournaments are going on hiatus and they're going on break over the New Year's. So prime time to catch up on HomeStory Cup. That is our plan. There we go. It's definitely fun to watch. Yeah, exactly. He's always fun to watch. Always fun to watch, man. GG. Ooh. But for now, thanks so much. Thanks so much for watching, everyone. Thanks so much for the support. We appreciate it. We are going to be sending the stream over to another StarCraft streamer. Not too sure who, but we'll find someone to raid, and hope you all enjoyed yourselves. Again, as we were just going over, our next broadcast is going to be in just under 24 hours. We are going to be covering day number 2 of Group A of HomeStory Cup 24 of the Galactic Rumble. So we got you covered there. And of course, don't forget, over the weekend, we're going to be covering DreamHack as well. We're going to be a side stream for day 1. We're going to be covering the open stage of DreamHack Atlanta. So we'll be here. We'll be here on the CranKy Ducklings casting day 1 of DreamHack. So make sure you're a part of that as well. We will most likely try to cast Dolan and Vindicta. We were going over the groups earlier. We're most likely going to be covering like Dolan or Vindicta or Scarlet or some of the other NA players in the open brackets. Wish them the best of luck in their journey towards the later stages of the tournament. It's a very stacked tournament, very brutal event. Wish them the best. We do wish them the best. So yeah, with that, thanks for watching, thanks for the support. We'll see you guys tomorrow for some more HomeStory Cup action, and until then, hasta luego. Thanks for watching. Bye. Hasta luego, papi. Hasta luego.